grasslands. We count 10 real alien sightings that are caught on camera.
This is allegedly some footage released from WikiLeaks. It claims to be an interview with a grey alien from the Roswell, New Mexico crash in 1947. Shot inside Area 51, scientists are conducting a series of tests on the extraterrestrial being. They're testing its reflexes, cognitive ability, as well as viral susceptibility within our atmosphere. Real or fake, it's an amazing piece of footage that has sparked considerable discussion around the internet. After this husband and wife complained about a suspected peeping Tom in their yard, it was suggested that they set up a camera by the window. Then, one night after noticing two flashing lights, the husband glanced out the window. What he sees will give you chills. If you look closely, you can see some kind of creature look through the window. It bobs up and down several times before giving this guy the fright of his life. This now famous footage first appeared in 1997. A very secretive man, known only as Victor, claims to have obtained this video from the US government. He says it was filmed in a section of Area 51 known as S4. He claims that the alien is seated behind a glass wall in a decontaminated, temperature-controlled room. Allegedly, there is a telepath trying to communicate with the extraterrestrial being. However, the creature becomes distressed and medical staff are forced to intervene. Many experts have tried to debunk this footage but often fall short of any definite conclusions. It is widely considered some of the most convincing evidence of the existence of alien life. Shot in 2005, the owner of this video initially didn't notice anything strange while filming in the cemetery. However, when they reviewed the footage nearly 6 years later, they noticed something chilling. As the camera pans around the gravestones, you can see some kind of humanoid creature hiding in the cemetery. The figure is grey and gaunt looking with an oversized skull. It seems to cautiously observe the camera, then disappeared just seconds later. This piece of striking footage was allegedly filmed in 1987 in a secret military base. A Mexican officer claimed he obtained this footage from an undisclosed US military base. According to the informant, Mexico abides by what's known as an information exchange protocol, which means neighbouring governments can exchange secret information regarding space travel, alien technologies, and the existence of otherworldly beings. This footage purports to be a medical examination of an extraterrestrial creature. In a facility known only as G13, they test the alien's reflexes, sensitivity to light, its cognitive and auditory capabilities. Whether it's a hoax or not, it's still a remarkable piece of footage that continues to stir debate amongst the paranormal community. The owner of this house kept noticing his security light coming on sporadically during the night. He installed a camera on his back porch to find out what was tripping the sensor. What the camera spotted is truly chilling. You could see a humanoid figure peering out alongside the fence. It has eerie black eyes with a striking facial structure. What do you think this security camera has captured? Let us know in the comments section below. First, he's confused and looks towards the bushes at the rear of his property. Then he hears something crawling across his tin roof. In plain sight is a slender creature with long arms and legs, an elongated neck and small head. It pauses for a second, then leaps over the roof. Is this an extraterrestrial being, or is it just Slender Man naked and afraid? This alarming footage claims to show an extraterrestrial being held captive by the Brazilian government. In the video, several soldiers berate the creature, asking it to speak. It murmurs a number of times and appears to be chained to the seat. Allegedly, after the footage was leaked, the alien creature vanished from custody. Some say the US government intervened and seized all evidence.
Well, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy our content, then why not consider supporting us on Patreon? You could even get your name scrolling above the top there. For all the details, head on over to our Patreon campaign. There's a link in the description box. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew! How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Today we're talking about creepy coincidences. From a novel that predicted the sinking of the Titanic 14 years before it actually happened, to a man who survived 2 atomic bombs. Join us as we take a look at 12 of the creepiest coincidences in history.
Deus Ex was a video game released back in 2000. In it, you play as JC Denton, an anti-terrorist agent augmented with superhuman powers who becomes involved in a multi-level conspiracy. When the designers of the game were creating the skyline for the mission set in New York City, they didn't include the Twin Towers. The reason for their absence was put down to computer memory constraints at the time. To cover the omission, the writers explained that the towers had been destroyed by terrorists. Deus Ex was released in 2000, 1 year before the 9/11 terrorist attacks. On July 28, 1900, King Umberto I of Italy was eating dinner at a small restaurant in Monza when he noticed that the owner was a near-exact physical double to himself. The men began talking and discovered that they shared many more similarities. They were both named Umberto, they were both born on the 14th of March 1844 in Turin, and both married women named Margherita on the 21st of April 1868. Even the restaurant opened the same day that Umberto I was crowned King of Italy. The following evening, King Umberto I learned that the restaurateur had been killed earlier that day in a mysterious shooting. Shortly after hearing the news, the king himself was shot and killed by assassin Gaetano Bresci. On August 6, 1945, Tsutomu Yamaguchi was on a business trip in Hiroshima, Japan, when the US bomber Enola Gay dropped an atomic bomb on the city. Miraculously, he suffered little more than superficial burns and was otherwise okay. He returned home to Nagasaki and, despite his wounds, went back to work on the 9th. As he was telling his supervisor how the bomb that hit Hiroshima had destroyed the entire city, Nagasaki was hit by another atomic bomb. Once again, Yamaguchi survived the attack. In 2009, he became the first person to be officially recognized by the Japanese government as surviving both the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings. Yamaguchi died on January 4, 2010 at the age of 93. The South African astronomer Dani du Toit once gave a lecture warning that death could come at any time. After finishing his speech, he sat down, popped a mint in his mouth and choked to death. On the 28th of June 1914, the Archduke of Austria, Franz Ferdinand, and his wife were assassinated in Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina. They were killed by 19-year-old Serbian nationalist Gavrilo Princip by weapons supplied to him by Colonel Apis, head of the Serbian military intelligence. The incident provoked the Austro-Hungarian Empire to declare war on Serbia, which ultimately led to the beginning of World War I. More than 4 years later, the war ended when Germany signed an armistice prepared by Britain and France at 11 AM on the 11th of the 11th in 1918. Amazingly, the car that Ferdinand was riding in at the time of his assassination had this license plate: Armistice 11-11-18. March 2002, a 70-year-old man was hit and killed by a truck while riding his bike in Ra, Finland. 2 hours later, his identical twin brother was also hit and killed by a truck while riding his bike. He was struck just 1.5 kilometers from where his brother was killed just hours earlier. When asked about the incident, investigating police officer Maha-Leena Huhtala said, "It made my hairs stand on end when I heard that the two were brothers, and identical twins at that. It came to mind that perhaps someone from upstairs had a say in this." She added that it was unlikely that the second man knew of his brother's death, as police had yet to inform the family of the incident. At 8:30 p.m. on Saturday the 29th of September 1888, a woman by the name of Catherine Eddowes was found drunk lying on Aldgate High Street in London, England. She was taken to the Bishopsgate police station where she was held until 1 a.m, at which time she was deemed sober enough to leave. Upon leaving, she gave the police officers the fake name of Mary Kelly. At 1:45 a.m, Eddowes' mutilated body was found in the southwest corner of Mitre Square by policeman PC Edward Watkins. She had been murdered by notorious serial killer Jack the Ripper. On the 9th of November 1888, another body was found mutilated. This time it was that of a 25-year-old woman discovered at her residence in East London. It was Jack the Ripper's final murder. Bizarrely, her name was Mary Kelly, the same name Eddowes had given to police shortly before she was murdered. In the late 1800s, Henry Ziegland of Honey Grove, Texas, ended his relationship with his girlfriend. She was so distraught by the incident that she committed suicide shortly after. Her brother, seeking revenge, went to Ziegland's property and shot him. The bullet grazed Ziegland's face and lodged in a nearby tree. It had struck him with enough force, however, to knock him to the ground. Believing that Ziegland was dead, the brother then turned the gun on himself. 20 years later, Ziegland was clearing his land and needed to cut down the tree. It proved difficult, so he decided to make the job easier by using a few sticks of dynamite. The explosion dislodged the bullet from the tree and hit Ziegland right in the head, killing him on the spot. In 1898, a novel by Morgan Robinson named Futility was published. In an eerie coincidence, the novel foretold the tragic tale of the Titanic 14 years before it actually occurred. In the book, the ship known as the Titan hits an iceberg on the starboard side, the same as the Titanic. It happens in April, 400 nautical miles off the coast of Newfoundland, the same as the Titanic. The Titan even had too few lifeboats on board to save all the passengers as it sunk. The author's account was so frighteningly similar to that of the Titanic that after it sunk he was accused of clairvoyance. However, he claimed that he simply wrote his novel based on his knowledge of maritime practices and shipbuilding. On December 5th, 1664, a ship sank in a stretch of water off the coast of Wales known as the Menai Strait. 81 of the 82 passengers on board all drowned except for one man named Hugh Williams. On December 5th, 1785, another ship sank in the Menai Strait, killing all on board except for one. The survivor's name was also Hugh Williams. On December 5th, 1820, yet another ship sank in the Menai Strait. Once again, there was only one survivor, Hugh Williams. On July 30th, 1974, 17-year-old Neville Eben was hit and killed by a taxi driven by Willard Manders while out riding his moped in Hamilton, Bermuda. Almost 1 year later, on July 18th, 1975, his brother Erskine Eben, who was also 17 at the time, was out riding the same moped when he too was struck and killed by the same taxi driven by the same driver. Even stranger, the taxi was carrying the same passenger on both occasions. During the 14th century, Tamerlane was the last great nomadic conqueror who ruled lands stretching from modern-day Turkey through Iran and much of Central Asia. He founded the Timurid Empire in Persia and Central Asia and became the first ruler of the Timurid dynasty. On the 19th of June 1941, Soviet anthropologists exhuming his remains discovered an inscription on his tomb that read, "Whomsoever opens my tomb shall unleash an invader more terrible than I." 3 days after his tomb was disturbed, Germany launched Operation Barbarossa. More than 4 million military personnel along with 600,000 vehicles invaded the Western Soviet Union along a 2,900 kilometre or 1,800 mile front during World War II. It was the largest military invasion of all time. In November 1942, Tamerlane was reburied with a full Islamic ritual. Shortly afterwards, the Soviet forces secured victory against the Germans at the Battle of Stalingrad.
Well, there's another episode down. Thank you so much for watching. Now, in the comment section below, let us know which of these coincidences creeped you out the most, because as per usual, I'll be hanging around for 1 hour after this video goes live and we can have a good chat about it. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew! From a woman mauled to death by her pet tiger to a man torn apart and eaten by lizards and spiders. Join us as we take a peep at 10 pets that have killed their owners.
In 2006, a 52-year-old woman was mauled to death by a 500-pound Bengal tiger in Pine County, Minnesota. Authorities were called to the property after Cynthia Lee Gamble's body was discovered by a man who arrived at the property to perform a controlled burn. Gamble was a writer and editor of wildlife documentaries and had previously trained animals for films such as Vertical Limit, released in 2000. A veterinarian had to destroy the very agitated animal at the scene before authorities could gain access to Gamble's remains. In 2004, Al Abel was bitten and killed by his pet lion Simba on his Illinois farm he ran with his wife. The 52-year-old man was attacked while cleaning the large cat's enclosure after failing to secure the animal inside its holding pen. It was the first time Abel had attempted to clean the enclosure without the help of his wife Kathy, who was running errands at the time. Abel was not officially qualified to care for the animal as Kathy was the only one who held a license to keep big cats. Official reports concluded that Abel was in poor health and was suffering from forgetfulness prior to the incident. When the police arrived on the scene, they found the lion pacing aggressively and were unable to reach the suspected location of Mr. Abel. The lion was shot with an AK-47 and Abel's body was soon discovered shortly afterwards. In 2009, 37-year-old Kellyanne Waltz was mauled to death by a 350-pound pet black bear. Waltz was cleaning the interior of the bear's enclosure when it attacked. Her children witnessed the incident and summoned their neighbour Scott Costoni for help, who shot the bear while it was still on top of Waltz. Waltz's husband was licensed to keep the bear along with lions, tigers and other dangerous animals, but had let his permits lapse prior to the attack. In 2007, exotic pet owner Pam Weaver was crushed to death by her pet camel. Weaver's husband had bought the 330-pound present for his wife's 60th birthday. Camel expert Chris Hill told reports that the camel's behaviour was most likely sexual. He believed that the camel, who had previously exhibited strange behaviour by trying to mount the family's pet goat, was most likely trying to mate with Weaver and accidentally trampled her to death. In 2010, Corey Byrne became the first person in the United States to be killed by a boa constrictor, despite his family warning him of the dangers of owning such a pet. Byrne, who had the snake around his neck at the time, was showing it to his roommate's girlfriend when it strangled him to death. In 2013, 10-year-old Aidan Pankey was rushed to hospital after complaining of severe stomach pains. He died hours later from a bacterial infection commonly known as rat bite fever. Aidan's grandmother had recently given him a rat that he named Alex to provide companionship for a pet rat he'd already owned. The rat was purchased from pet store Petco and was in the possession of the boy for about 2 weeks before he became ill and passed away. In 2004, an unidentified woman died after being bitten by her pet pit viper. The 44-year-old woman drove herself to hospital after she received the bite, but died sometime after being administered. Police broke down her front door and, along with Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden specialists, began searching the house. Inside, they found at least 9 poisonous snakes still contained in their enclosures, along with several large lizards and 2 alligators free roaming around the house. In 2009, Sandra Herold's pet chimpanzee Travis mauled her friend Carla Nash, leaving her with horrific wounds. Travis went berserk after stealing Herold's keys and escaping the house. When Herold called her friend Nash to come over and help catch the chimp, Travis attacked Nash after seeing her hold one of his favourite toys. It was thought that Vogel's pet black widow spider Bettina had bitten and killed him after the heating systems on the spider's enclosures had malfunctioned, opening the lids and setting the creepy critters free to roam the apartment. In 2009, 2-year-old Cheyenne was found dead in her cot after her mother's pet albino Burmese python had escaped its tank and strangled her to death. Cheyenne was discovered in her cot with the snake tightly wrapped around her with its fangs embedded in her forehead. The 8-foot 6-inch snake had escaped its enclosure at least 5 times in the 4 weeks prior to the incident. Investigators said that the python had not been fed for over a month and was severely underweight. The snake's owner, Jaren Hare, and her partner Charles Darnell were sentenced to 12 years in prison after they were convicted of third-degree murder, manslaughter, and child neglect.
Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying our content, remember to hit that thumbs up button in appreciation. It really helps us out. Now, after this video goes live, I'll be sitting in the comment section below for 1 hour answering all your questions. Now, I have a question for you lot. What would you rather? Would you rather have a snake twist around and strangle you to death, sinking its fangs in your forehead? Or would you rather a family of spiders nesting in the skull and nose and ears of the corpse that you've left behind? Let us know in the comment section below and we'll chat about it. See ya! Pew! From a flat image that appears to rotate in 3D to an illusion that disappears when you stare at it. Join us as we take a look at 10 optical illusions that'll bend your brain.
The elephant legs optical illusion is what is known as an impossible object, an object that could not possibly exist in real life. If you begin to stare at the legs, you'll quickly notice a problem. How many legs can you count on this elephant? Let us know in the comments section below. Take a look at this image and decide which of the orange circles is larger. They are in fact exactly the same size. Named after its discoverer, German psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus, the Ebbinghaus illusion is based on relative size perception. The orange circle on the right appears larger because it's surrounded by smaller circles, while the orange circle on the left appears smaller because it's surrounded by larger ones. Recent studies suggest that the distance of the outer circles in relation to the central circle also plays a crucial part in creating this optical illusion. If the surrounding circles are closer to the central circle, it will appear larger and vice versa. This optical illusion was created by Russian artist Ilya Klenenkov in an attempt to help raise awareness of the diminishing number of pandas in the wild. To best see the hidden image, try squinting at the picture or stare slightly cross-eyed. The hidden panda should begin to reveal itself. The spinning dancer illusion was created by web designer Nobuyuki Kawahara in 2003. This spinning silhouette of a female dancer is an example of a kinetic bistable optical illusion. Observers will initially see the woman spinning either clockwise or counterclockwise, and sometimes may even see the woman suddenly spin in the opposite direction. What way do you see the dancer spinning? Let us know in the comments section below. Also known as the cafe wall illusion after it was observed in the tiles of a cafe wall near St Michael's Hill in Bristol, UK. This image will really mess with your head. The grey lines seen in the image are not diagonal at all, they are in fact parallel. It is thought that the contrast polarities between the black and white squares cause our minds to interpret the lines as running in a diagonal direction. The checker shadow illusion was published by Professor of Vision scientist Edward H. Adelson in 1995. It shows an image of a green cylinder casting a shadow across a checkerboard. Looking at the image, the square labelled A clearly appears to be darker than the square labelled B. However, both squares are of identical brightness. Take a look at what happens when the two squares are joined. The illusion is created by two elements. The first is local contrast. Our brains perceive that a lighter check surrounded by darker checks must be lighter than average, while a darker check surrounded by lighter checks must be darker than average. The second element relates to the sharp boundaries of the checks and the soft boundaries of the cylinder's shadow. The sharp boundaries of the checks cause our minds to interpret a change in surface colour, while a gradual change in light is perceived to be caused by shadow. Take a look at the pieces of wood in this picture. Do you see the two pieces lying next to each other or one on top of the other? The wood is actually stacked one piece on top of the other, but if you look at the far end of the image, it appears that they are lying side by side. The optical illusion is created here by the horizontal and vertical screws at opposite ends of the wood, and the fact that the man's hand appears to be resting on top of both pieces of wood at the same time. Created by Bo Dealey in 2012, the spinning optical illusion is a static two-dimensional image that actually appears to be rotating. The perception of depth and contrasting colours within this picture create the illusion of movement. Interestingly, if you stare at an individual orange circle for a few seconds, the image stops rotating. You can see more amazing psychedelic art and optical illusions on Bo's website, bodealey.com. The link's in the description box below. Much like the blue and black, white and gold dress that divided the internet back in 2015, the blue-green optical illusion is based on a person's ability to perceive colour. Believe it or not, the blue and green lines in the bottom left and top right rectangles of this image are actually the same colour. If you don't believe it, try opening the image in Photoshop and using the eyedropper tool. What do you think? Are the lines blue or green? Let us know in the comments section below. If you stare at the center of this image without moving your eyes, it will mysteriously fade away. First identified by Swiss physician Ignaz Paul Vital Troxler in 1804, Troxler's fading is due to unvarying stimulation of the neurons in the visual system. In other words, if an image in front of you does not move while you're viewing it, or you do not move your eyes while viewing it, the unvarying stimuli will soon disappear from your awareness. To get the best effect, stare at the very center of the image for about 20 seconds. Well, there you go, that's 20 seconds. How'd you go? Did the image disappear for you? Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Now remember to follow us on Facebook @SlappedHam for daily bite-sized mouthfuls of ham. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew! How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Today we're talking about terrifying toy dolls. From a cursed doll caught moving on camera to one that's said to come alive and attack people. Join us as we take a look at 10 cursed dolls and their chilling backstories.
In 1904, a boy named Robert Eugene Otto from Key West, Florida, received a doll as a present. It was a gift from his grandfather who had recently returned from a trip to Germany. The boy named the doll Robert after himself and had an immediate attachment to it. At night, Robert's parents claimed that they could hear their son talking to the doll in his bedroom. Sometimes a strange voice would answer back. As time went by, Robert grew more and more fond of the doll. It had its own place at the dinner table and would sleep in his bed at night time. Robert's parents began to notice that their son's behaviour was changing. They often found overturned furniture and objects scattered throughout the house. When they asked their son about the mess, he would get very angry and say that the doll was the one that did it. Years later, when Robert got married, he placed the doll in the attic. Children who passed by the house claimed that the doll would stare at them from the attic window, and that its expression would often change. When Robert and his wife passed away in the mid-1970s, the new owners of the house said they would often hear childlike giggling coming from the attic. They too claimed that the doll's expression would change from day to day. Today, Robert the doll has a new residence. He is housed within a glass case at the Key West Fort East Martello Museum in Florida. If you're feeling particularly brave, you can go and see him for yourself. But be aware of what you say in front of him, as he might just pay you a visit in the middle of the night. When a woman from Galveston, Texas bought this voodoo doll on eBay, she got a lot more than she bargained for. The eBay listing explicitly warned the buyer not to remove the doll from the silver casing or risk releasing its evil powers. The woman paid no attention and removed the doll as soon as it arrived. A short time later, the woman started hearing mysterious tapping noises throughout her house. She also began having very vivid nightmares and would often wake to find the doll in strange places. The woman then claimed she woke one morning with scratches all over her body. Scared, the woman decided to send the doll back to the person she had bought it from. However, the package was returned to her. The box read, "Resident deceased." In 1918, 17-year-old Aikichi Suzuki was visiting the Japanese city of Sapporo. While he was there, he decided to buy a doll for his younger sister Akiku as a souvenir for his trip. The young girl, who was 2 at the time, loved the doll immensely and would play with it every day. Sadly, a year later, the young girl became very ill and died of an intense fever. Knowing how much Akiku loved the doll, her family placed it in the household altar and began praying to it every day. The family noticed that
Pew, 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 pew.
hair had started to grow, and so they believed Akiku's spirit had taken refuge in the doll itself. In 1938, the family placed the doll in the care of the Monenji Temple, located in the town of Iwamizawa in Hokkaido, Japan. To this day, the doll's hair is said to have kept growing. Once the hair reaches the doll's knees, it's cut short, and each time it grows back. A sample of the hair was sent for scientific analysis, and it was concluded that it was in fact human. The doll is now well known right across Japan and remains on display at the temple to this day. Many visitors come each year to see the doll and pay their respects to Akiku, the little girl.
A custom pure for you, pure. Ooh, a super chat. Wow.
Away so many years ago. In 2008, 2-year-old Florida resident James Bowman was verbally threatened by his Elmo Knows Your Name doll. The doll, which can be programmed to repeat phrases and names, began singing "Kill James" over and over again. The boy's mother, Melissa, realized what the doll was saying after she changed its batteries. "I noticed exactly what it was saying," Bowman said, "and my son..."
Oh, thanks, mate. Bloody ripper.
Exactly what it was saying too. "It's not something you'd ever think would come out of a toy," Bowman added, "but once I heard, I was kind of distraught." She immediately took the doll away from her son and contacted the manufacturer. Fisher-Price investigated the incident and offered the Bowmans a voucher for a replacement. Let's hope they never decide to make an Elmo Knows Where You Live version of this doll. When Amelia the doll was auctioned on eBay, she became one of the most viewed items. On the listing, the seller posted a warning that read, "This doll is not recommended for the weak of heart or for any little kids to have in their bedrooms." The doll's original owner claimed that Amelia's eyes used to be blue, but they had turned an eerie shade of green over time. They said once her eyes changed colour, weird things started to happen. The person who eventually purchased Amelia said that he began to hear childish laughter coming from the room she was kept in. He also claimed to have seen her waving at him, and once he found her standing alone in the hallway. In 1914, the British Army suspected that a German couple living in Singapore were actually spies. They detained the pair, but their daughter managed to escape, only to fall off a cliff and die a short time later. The locals erected a shrine on Pulau Ubin Island, in memory of the little girl that contained a lock of her hair as well as her crucifix. Over the years, many visitors came to pay their respects to the little girl. In 2007, a local man had a reoccurring dream about a young girl who would lead him into a toy store to buy a Barbie doll for her. Believing that the spirit of the German girl was trying to contact him, the man went to the store and bought the exact doll he had seen in his dreams. In an effort to appease the young girl's restless spirit, he took the doll to the memorial and placed it in the center of the shrine. The doll is still there to this day, and people now come from all over the world to visit the shrine and pay their respects to the little girl, who they hope will bring them good luck. In January 2017, this unsettling footage of a possessed doll surfaced online. In the clip, a young girl can be seen sitting on the floor playing with one of her dolls. In the corner, another doll's head begins to move all by itself. The camera was reported to have been set up by the girl's father after she complained that something was bothering her. In another clip, the young girl can be seen drawing when suddenly papers mysteriously blow across the table. As the girl runs from shot, several objects are thrown around the room. The clip ends just as the table begins to slide across the floor. Is this real footage of a cursed doll haunting the little girl, or is it just a really creepy hoax? Let us know what you think's going on in the comments section below. In June 2014, this creepy blindfolded doll appeared on the side of a busy road in Singapore. The blindfold was covered in Arabic writing that said Bismillah, which translates to "in the name of Allah." Shortly after the doll's discovery, a mysterious story appeared on Reddit. It claimed that the doll was known to be possessed and had the ability to move on its own and even speak in a woman's voice. The post goes on to say that the original owner was so scared of the doll that she had to get rid of it. The only way she could be sure it wouldn't follow her home was to blindfold its eyes and write the Arabic phrase to keep the evil curse trapped within. Shortly after the doll was seen by the side of the road, it mysteriously vanished. It was said that the curse was passed on to someone else who had found the doll and unknowingly removed its bindings. The doll's current whereabouts is unknown. However, it's believed that the doll will return to the roadside once it's finished with its current victim. In 1970, a student nurse named Donna received a Raggedy Ann doll as a gift from her mother.
Oh, thanks, mate.
28th birthday. Shortly after receiving the doll, both she and her roommate Angie began noticing strange things happening. The doll seemed to move around all by itself. The pair would often find the doll in a different room to where it was before they left the house. On several occasions, Donna left the doll on the couch before she went to work, returning to find it sitting on her bed in her room with the door closed. About a month after Donna first received the doll, the two women began to find disturbing messages written on parchment paper lying around the apartment. The messages, which looked as though they were written by a small child, read, "Help us and help Lou." Lou was a friend of the girls who had bad feelings about the doll from day one. One night, Donna came home to find the doll sitting on her bed. Feeling very uneasy, she inspected the doll and found that it looked as though it had drops of blood on its hands. The women decided to seek the advice of a medium who told them that the doll was actually possessed by the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle Higgins. The medium claimed that Annabelle lived on the property before the apartment block was built and had suffered some sort of accident that led to her death. The medium told the women that Annabelle felt safe living with them and asked if she could stay. They agreed and took the doll home. Not long after returning home, even stranger things began to occur. One night when their friend Lou was staying over, he had a very vivid nightmare. When he awoke, he realised that he couldn't move. Next, he claimed the doll appeared at his feet and made its way up his leg, finally resting on his chest. The doll then strangled him until he passed out. He awoke the next day convinced that what had happened was not a dream. Later that day, Lou and Donna heard sounds coming from her room. Lou went to investigate but found nothing except the doll in a heap in the corner. As Lou turned to leave the room, he claimed the doll lunged at him and scratched his chest. The scratches appeared like claw marks and were hot like burns. Completely terrified, Donna contacted a priest who alerted paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens took an immediate interest in the case and agreed to meet Donna. After investigating the matter, the Warrens determined that the spirit attached to the doll was not that of a little girl, but was actually a very dangerous demon. They believed the spirit had tricked the woman into letting it stay in their house when it communicated through the medium. The Warrens took the doll away and it's now on display in their occult museum. It's housed within a glass case that reads, "Warning, positively do not open." To this day, the doll is still said to possess eerie powers. It was reported that a young man who mocked the doll while on tour of the museum died shortly after his visit. He lost control of his motorcycle and drove head-on into a tree. Joliet the doll has been passed down through 4 generations of the same family. Its current owner, a woman named Anna, said that the doll was originally gifted to her great-grandmother by a jealous and bitter friend. The friend was believed to have placed an evil curse on the doll that saw her great-grandmother give birth to 2 children, a girl and a boy. 3 days after the birth, the son mysteriously passed away. Since then, all the women of the family have suffered the same fate. All have given birth to a girl and a boy, and each time the boy has died 3 days later. The family says that at night they can hear the laughter and crying of many young infants coming from the doll. They believe that the doll acts as a vessel for the spirits of the boys that all mysteriously passed away just 3 days after their birth.
Well, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you enjoy our content and you want to get your name scrolling across the top there, consider supporting us on Patreon. There's a link in the description box below. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew! How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Today we're looking at some insane CCTV footage. From a freewheeling car tyre that disrupted a business meeting to the moment a baby fell from a 2-story window ledge. Join us as we take a look at 10 crazy moments caught on CCTV.
Watch as this parking lot security door gets the better of this car. There's not a lot of solid information about this clip. It's not known where this took place, but it appears to be at the entrance of a public parking lot. In the footage, we see a car approach a closed security door. It pauses for a moment as a passenger hastily exits the vehicle. Then it rams right through the wire gate, much to the dismay of the escaped passenger. For some reason, the car reverses back into the gate, this time connecting with the back of the car, bizarrely lifting it into the air. The driver attempts this 2 more times, each time lifting the rear of the vehicle into the air. Finally, he grows impatient and reverses at speed, fully flipping the car upside down. It's not known whether the men were robbing the place or drunk or possibly both. Either way, it makes for some very entertaining footage caught on CCTV. This is some crazy footage caught on CCTV in Adana, Turkey in April 2017. Over multiple security cameras, we see dramatic images of a dislodged tyre bounce down the road only to disrupt what looks like a very serious business meeting in a pharmacy. Owner Abdul Qadir Urdev said he was chatting to 2 men in his pharmacy when suddenly the rogue tyre burst into the store, scraping one of the men. According to witnesses, the tyre became dislodged after a nearby accident took place up the road. Upon impact, the tyre gained momentum, rolling at speed down the street, hitting the curb, which made it change direction toward the storefront. The men escaped with only minor injuries. In February 2016, a CCTV camera in a gas station in Kentucky captured the moment when an e-cigarette exploded in a man's pocket. In the video, we see a man by the name of Josh Hamilton walk up to the counter to pay for his fuel. As he reaches into his pocket to pay, the e-cigarette ignites, spitting sparks and flames out of his pants. He runs outside, patting himself down in an effort to stop the explosion. Luckily, the quick-thinking clerk follows Hamilton with a fire extinguisher. Hamilton was admitted to a local hospital with burns to his thigh and abdomen. This is some hilarious footage taken way back in 2008. Caught on security camera at an unknown Target warehouse in the United States, we see an employee handling a pedestrian stacker. He lifts the fork high into the air, colliding with the warehouse's sprinkler system. Water begins to rain down from the roof. What happens next is almost something out of a Benny Hill sketch. First, the employee tries moving a pallet of stock away from the spraying water. Then, he finds a ladder to reach the broken sprinkler system. He tinkers with the pipe, using a wrench to quell the deluge of water. At first, it proves quite effective as the water almost completely stops. However, the employee doesn't seem fully satisfied and gives the wrench one last yank for good measure. As he pulls, the entire pipe bursts, knocking him off the ladder. A torrent of liquid floods down from the roof, the warehouse floor becoming inundated with water. The perpetrator and fellow employees stand by dumbfounded, helpless to do anything. Sticking with broken sprinkler systems, this quick-thinking woman tried staging an injury in the hope of getting workers' compensation. Taken on CCTV in an office in Fort Lauderdale, we see Shayla Veronica White working away at her desk when a piece of pipe from the roof sprinkler system falls in front of her. Startled, she stares at it for a moment. Suddenly, she picks the piece of metal up and hits herself in the head. She grasps her forehead in pain. White went to her boss claiming that the sprinkler had fallen onto her head. She was hoping to get a payout from the employer's insurance company. Suspicious of the accident, the insurance company, along with the state authorities, reviewed the CCTV footage to see what had happened. And there, clear as day, was evidence that White smashed herself in the head with the faulty sprinkler piece. White was convicted of fraud and given 18 months probation. In April 2011, a CCTV camera caught this hilarious footage of a thief's failed getaway. Taken at the Easy Food store in Lake Wales, Florida, the footage shows a thief trying his best to steal 2 cases of beer. As he runs towards the getaway car, his pants fall down, foiling the heist completely. He trips up, falling face first into the pavement. The cans of beer scatter everywhere, spraying their contents on the ground. Shortly after, the clerk of the store comes running out, but the thieves speed away without their loot. It's not known whether they were later arrested. A CCTV camera in China has filmed the terrifying moment a baby fell from a 2-story apartment. In the video, we see 2 men in Zhongshan City in China's Guangdong province looking up horrified as a 1-year-old baby sits precariously on a ledge 2 stories high. Pouring rain saturates the onlookers as they brace for the worst. Several witnesses even place cardboard and other objects on the ground to soften the impact of the falling child. A look of panic sets in on the men's faces as the baby slips off the edge of the window. They position themselves with outstretched hands, hoping to catch the plummeting infant. Suddenly, from off camera, we see the child fall safely into one of the men's hands. It's thought that the baby crawled out onto the windowsill looking for its mother. Mr. Lee, the man who caught the child, said, "I didn't think too much at the time. I was just afraid of failing to catch him. It was nothing but instinct." At the end of the footage, we see the infant given to a young woman thought to be the mother of the child. She runs off, cradling the baby. This would have to be one of the stupidest crimes ever committed. In January 2017, a man in Mandurah, Western Australia was caught stealing a CCTV camera while it filmed him committing the theft. Unfortunately, the footage hasn't been released to the public, but police did reveal this photo. Allegedly, the man walks straight up to the camera, shows his entire face along with a very distinctive tattoo on his bicep, then proceeds to steal the CCTV camera while it films every minute of it. It's not known what happened after the incident, but one would think a rather hasty arrest was made. A security camera in Turkey's Marmara province of Sakarya has captured the startling moment a pack of stray dogs rip apart a car. In the footage, taken around mid-2016, we see up to 9 dogs take an interest in a white hatchback in a suburban street. It's thought that they were looking for a stray cat that had taken refuge inside the engine bay of the car. At first, they surround the vehicle, clearly alerted to something hidden inside. One dog begins to pull at the front bumper, tearing half of it off. Another dog sticks its head under the bonnet looking for their prey. Then, finally, they manage to tear the entire bumper off the car. The following morning, owner Sem Achar was shocked to discover his vehicle pulled apart. He notified police thinking his car had been vandalised by a local gang. However, when the authorities reviewed the CCTV footage, they were shocked to see the pack of stray dogs viciously dismantling the car. In 2012, this bar worker got the fright of his life when he fell down an open trapdoor in the King William IV pub near London. In the footage, we see worker Owen operating the sound on an open mic night. He casually walks behind the bar, distracted by his phone and a nearby TV, before plummeting down the exposed hole. Staff and patrons rush to his aid, but bizarrely, one worker takes a look down the hole, then just shuts the door and walks off. According to the Daily Mail, the hole is actually an elevator shaft used to bring up fresh linen to the bar. It's not known why the door was open at the time or why on earth you'd build such a death trap right where people regularly walk. I guess that's why they call them trapdoors. Owen fell 10 feet and hit the top of the elevator at the bottom of the shaft. Despite a dramatic fall, he only suffered a sprained ankle and some local bruising.
Well, there's another episode down. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe and turn on channel notifications so you get all our latest updates. Leave us a comment down below if you're enjoying the content. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. From being destroyed by artificially intelligent robots to accidentally creating a black hole. Join us as we take a look at 10 science experiments that could end the world.
For years now, science has had the ability to genetically engineer diseases to make them even more deadly than they once were. Scientists can now synthesize and genetically modify a range of nasty diseases like anthrax and mousepox, making them even deadlier than the original strains. In 2005, scientists successfully recreated a strain of the influenza virus, which was estimated to have killed 20 to 40 million people in 1918. The complete genetic sequence of this disease has been mapped and is now available online for anybody to download. In the 1970s, a bacteria was genetically engineered to digest petroleum. It was hoped that the bacteria could be used to clean up oil spills. At the time, it was feared that it may spread out of control, outcompeting other bacteria for survival. While not a direct genetic modification, the creation and use of pesticides on food crops has inadvertently caused many plant-based diseases to develop into superbugs. Forced to adapt through the process of natural selection, these new resistant strains of disease are even more destructive than their predecessors, leading some to speculate that it could be a matter of time before we create a superbug so destructive it could wipe out the world's food sources. Self-replicating technology is any technology that has the ability to reproduce or construct another identical or more advanced version of itself. For example, a single robot is built by humans with the ability to replicate itself using material it gathers and modifies. The mathematician John von Neumann first proposed the idea of a self-replicating machine that could travel through space, gathering resources to build another exact machine. The two craft would then self-replicate, creating four, and so on and so on. The large fleet of craft could travel in different directions throughout the universe and relay data back to Earth. But what if this technology couldn't be stopped from reproducing itself? In his 1986 book about nanotechnology, Eric Drexler elaborated on a concept he called grey goo. He suggests that tiny self-replicating robots known as nanobots could replicate exponentially, harvesting and utilizing every useful mineral on the planet. The result would be a grey goo-like sea of nanobots covering the entire world. In 1970, Russian scientists began drilling a super-deep borehole on the Kola Peninsula in northwest Russia. The project was conceived to study the structure and chemical composition of the Earth's deep core. At its deepest, the hole was a staggering 12,262 meters, which is around 40,230 feet deep, and is still the deepest borehole in the world today. It was unclear what drilling this deep into the Earth's core would do, with some speculating that it may cause catastrophic earthquakes or even widespread volcanic eruptions. The SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Institute, is a non-profit organization located in Mountain View, California. Using optical and radio telescope systems, their primary mission is to search for extraterrestrial life forms with the intelligence and ability to communicate. Some speculate that contacting an advanced alien race could lead to interplanetary war, a situation that humans might be ill-equipped to deal with, considering that an alien race may be far more technologically advanced than us. In 1974, scientists broadcast an interstellar radio message that included information about us humans and the planet we live on. The message includes information about the makeup of human DNA, a graphic of a human, the population of Earth, and a map of how to find us. While it will take 25,000 years to hit its intended destination, the globular star cluster M13, many believe that sending this message into space was a bad idea. It essentially tells an aggressive alien race everything they need to do to successfully wipe out all life on Earth. Located beneath the France-Switzerland border near Geneva, Switzerland, lies the world's most powerful particle collider, the Large Hadron Collider. Taking 10 years to build, the facility is the culmination of the work of more than 10,000 scientists and engineers. The purpose of the collider is to accelerate particles to very high speeds and smash them into each other. Data is then collected and the results are analysed. Physicists use the collider to test predictions and theories of particle physics. Initially, the experiment sparked fears that the particle collisions could produce microscopic black holes that may damage the Earth or even swallow it up entirely. Another concern was that the experiments may produce something known as a strangelet. A strangelet is a hypothetical particle that some have theorized, if large enough, could have the potential to turn ordinary matter into strange matter. Theoretically, the strangelet could catalyze one initial nucleus of regular matter, starting a chain reaction that would turn the Earth into a large hot lump of strange matter, obliterating all life in the process. In 1962, the US conducted an operation named Starfish Prime in which they fired a nuclear warhead into outer space from Johnston Island in the Pacific Ocean. The blast caused an electromagnetic pulse far greater than expected. It was so large that the instrumentation readings were off the scale, making it difficult to accurately measure any data. 1,445 kilometers, which is around 898 miles away in Hawaii, the blast caused widespread damage, knocking out 300 lights, setting off burglar alarms and shutting down telephone communication. In the months following the test, the radiation belts left from the explosion disabled 1/3 of all low Earth orbiting satellites. Large pieces of the missile crashed back down on Johnston Island, and plutonium contamination was found on nearby Sand Island. The fact that the electromagnetic pulse generated by the blast was much greater than scientists expected tends to indicate that they were not entirely sure what the explosion might do, but they went ahead and did it anyway. Luckily, the Earth's magnetic field recovered and was still able to protect us from devastating solar winds and harmful cosmic rays. We already have robots that can drive cars and artificial assistants on our mobile phones, but is it feasible that humans will one day create artificial intelligence that is smarter than the human mind? Google's DeepMind AI technology can already beat humans at many games and has shown some rather unnerving similarities to human thought. A recent test raised some disturbing questions. The test involved two games. The first, two teams armed with lasers had to harvest apples, and the second, a game where the two teams hunted down a single prey. DeepMind showed that it was willing to behave peacefully if the resources were plentiful, but if the resources were scarce, it was more likely to attack the other team with the laser. When hunting down the prey, the AI quickly learned that teamwork was the best way to get the food. The results from these tests show that much like humans, DeepMind understands the benefits of betrayal to get what it needs. Is this the first step in creating an all-destroying Skynet-style supercomputer? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. In 1989, director of the Leningrad Institute of Ultra-Pure Biological Preparations, Vladimir Pesechnik, defected to England. Pesechnik claimed that during the mid-1980s, the Soviets were experimenting on ways to weaponize microbial pathogens and to increase their virulence. One of the diseases that the institute was bioengineering was the plague. Also known as the Black Death, the plague was responsible for killing an estimated 75 to 200 million people throughout Europe and Asia between 1346 and 1353. According to Pesechnik, the Soviets were developing a version that was resistant to heat and cold, as well as many antibiotics. The new strain was then placed in warheads that could be fired on a missile. Nobody knows whether or not the Soviet Union were actually planning to use any of these biological weapons offensively, but if they had, this even deadlier new plague may have had the potential to wipe out all human life on Earth. When the US joined World War II on December 7, 1941, after the bombing of Pearl Harbor by the Japanese, the race to develop the world's first nuclear weapon was already underway. Led by the US, the Manhattan Project was a development and research undertaking that produced the world's first nuclear bomb. Trinity was the codename given to the first detonation of a nuclear weapon which took place in the Jornada del Muerto Desert in New Mexico on July 16, 1945. The blast was larger than expected, with an energy equivalent around 20 kilotons of TNT. It was so large it melted the sand into a radioactive light green glass. The mushroom cloud reached a staggering 12.1 kilometers, which is around 7.5 miles in height, and the shockwave was felt more than 160 kilometers, which is around 100 miles away. The urgency to be the first country in the world to develop nuclear weapons was obvious, with Germany and Japan also vying for world power. In the haste to win the race, several prominent scientists had concerns about what might actually happen if they were to set off a nuclear device. The Nobel Prize-winning physicist Enrico Fermi believed that the blast may be catastrophic, setting fire to the Earth's atmosphere, creating huge fires around the world. The test went ahead despite his dire predictions, and luckily he was wrong. On August 6, 1945, the US dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima. 3 days later, Nagasaki, both less than 1 month after the first test in New Mexico. Since the 1990s, a hypothesis has suggested that a form of energy known as dark energy may be accelerating the expansion of the universe. This has led to the idea that there could be a point where the universe stops decaying more rapidly and begins to slow down, meaning the universe could exist forever. This has led to an amazing and mind-melting theory. In quantum physics, the Zeno effect is a bizarre yet proven situation where an unstable particle, if continuously observed, will never decay. New research has suggested that scientific measurement of the death of several stars in 1998, which detected dark energy, may have actually reset the universe's decay clock back to zero. How is this possible? By reverting the quantum system back to its original state, one of fast decay. This amazingly difficult to grasp concept basically suggests that scientists could have greatly reduced the life of the universe simply by observing it.
Well, that's it for another episode. Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you can't get enough of our content, we do have a website. It's full of listicles, top 10s, and facts about everything. There's a link in the description box below if you want to check it out. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew!
Eerie places made of bones. If you've ever thought of building an eye-catching centerpiece out of human bone, then chances are you're already being watched by the FBI. Unfortunately, that type of thing is totally unacceptable today, but 200 years ago, any wall could be spruced up with a human skull or two. So join us as we take a look at some of the most eerie places made of bones. The Capuchin Crypt. This crypt, commissioned by Pope Urban VIII in 1626, lies beneath a small church in Rome, Italy. The Pope's brother, Antonio Barberini, a Capuchin friar, ordered the exhumation of thousands of dead friars, with their bones to be moved to the new crypt. The crypt became the final resting place for about 4,000 friars, buried between 1500 and 1870. One wall of the crypt features bones that have been arranged in different patterns surrounding several intact skeletons still wearing friars' robes. This dimly lit crypt is open for tourists brave enough to catch a glimpse of the eerie artwork, with one plaque reading, "What you are now, we used to be. What we are now, you will be." Whew, take it easy. The Monastery of San Francisco. The catacombs beneath the Monastery of San Francisco in Lima, Peru contain the remains of some 70,000 people. Rumoured to be riddled with secret passageways, this underground ossuary was the original resting place of anyone who died in the city. This tourist attraction is not recommended for anyone with claustrophobia. The long, bone-lined hallways lead to several large pits filled with even more bones. Like a weird game of skeleton Tetris, the bones are all meticulously stacked, creating several very creepy patterns. Skull Chapel. With a small, unassuming exterior, the Skull Chapel in Poland hides an eerie secret. It contains more than 3,000 human skulls. There is also another 21,000 skeletons stuffed in the basement. Inspired by the Capuchin Crypt in Rome, this dedication to the dead took 18 years to construct and fill with bones. Inside the chapel there is a carving of an angel that reads, "Arise from the dead." Yeah, this is probably not the best place to seek refuge when the zombie apocalypse begins. The Fossil Cabin. The Fossil Cabin in Wyoming, USA was built in 1932 by Thomas Boylan. Originally intending to collect fossils from the local area to construct a dinosaur skeleton, Boylan soon realized the difficulty of the project. The fossils he collected were from several species of dinosaur, making it impossible to construct one complete dinosaur skeleton. With the help of his son, Boylan instead constructed a wooden cabin and lined the exterior with the found fossils. In 1938, Ripley's Believe It or Not dubbed the dwelling the oldest cabin in the world, which is obviously not true. Have you seen an episode of the Flintstones? Sedlec Ossuary. Located in Kutna Hora, Czech Republic, the Sedlec Ossuary is perhaps the most bizarre bony building of them all. The ossuary was built using the remnants of between 40,000 to 70,000 skeletons. The centerpiece is an enormous draping chandelier built with at least one of every type of human bone. Pelvises, femurs, vertebrae and skulls, you name it, the chandelier is made from it. Several other sculptures line the building's interior, including a bony coat of arms and other arrangements. The macabre creations were not added until 1870, when a man named František Rint was employed to arrange the piles of accumulated bones into something a little more eye-friendly. And naturally he thought a gigantic chandelier made of human remains. Nice. I seem to have soiled my trousers. As always, thanks heaps for watching. Remember to give that thumbs up button a click. It lets us know you're enjoying the content. Why not follow us over on Twitter for daily Did You Know facts? And this is the Schlapperm Shining Wall.
From the sights, sounds and smells of haunted battlegrounds to the handprints of ghostly soldiers. Join us as we take a look at the 10 most haunted battlefields around the world.
There are dozens of reported ghost sightings at Battle Abbey in Normandy. The abbey was built after the Battle of Hastings in 1066, and it's the place where King Harold was killed. There is a ghost of a woman all in white who haunts the gatehouse. The altar of the abbey has reportedly been found bleeding, and long-dead monks roam the grounds. And even King Harold himself has been seen wandering around with an arrow in his eye. On the anniversary of the battle, you can hear the sounds of the battle, the soldiers and their horses. The Highlands are said to be the most haunted part of all of Scotland, but especially the battlefield of Culloden Moor. The Jacobites were defeated on Culloden Moor on April 16, 1746, and the battle was especially bloody. The fight itself only took 1 hour. It left behind many ghosts which can be seen and heard on the anniversary of the battle. During other times in the year, a battle-dazed man can be found wandering the moor. A man in his tartans has been seen lying injured on the ground, as well as many other soldiers. No birds sing or visit the site of the battle anymore. This is the site of one of the American Civil War's bloodiest, grisliest battles. Lasting from May 31 to June 12, 1864, over 16,000 soldiers died in the battle, and a large number of the dead were never properly buried. And it's guessed that from this lack of burial comes the abundance of ghosts. People who visit the battlefield claim they have felt the shock of cannons going off, they can hear the sounds of soldiers and horses, and can even smell gunpowder in the air. These sightings aren't just linked to the anniversary of the battle, however. These supernatural experiences occur regularly throughout the year. The beach of Dieppe, France was the site of Operation Jubilee, a precursor to Operation D-Day. This was carried out by Allied forces to claim a major port, and more importantly to the mission, prove that it was possible to take the beach from the Germans. The raid was a disaster and 4,000 soldiers lost their lives. There had been very little reported sightings of any ghosts or noises in the area, but once while camping a couple were woken by gunfire sometime after 4 in the morning, roughly when the raid started. What they heard was soldiers fighting out the battle. The couple could distinguish what the soldiers were saying and wrote down everything they heard. Historians then confirmed that the couple had heard the whole battle play out, down to the minute. This battle for Belgian territory was held in World War I for 3 months, July to November in 1917. During the battle, over 400,000 people lost their lives, and it's estimated that around 100,000 soldiers were never identified or even buried due to the terrain being especially treacherous. Around the battlefield and village, the sounds of the battle can be heard, including screams and gunfire. This was a battle between US cavalry and the Lakota tribe in 1876. There were no survivors from the US cavalry. Visitors to the site have seen soldiers reenacting the battle, can smell gunpowder and hear the cries of soldiers. Even more creepily, visitors have also reported having hallucinations of the battle firsthand and have experienced overwhelming feelings of despair. In 1862, this battle was fought on a sunken road between two farms for only 4 hours as part of the US Civil War. Despite the short time frame, over 23,000 soldiers were killed, injured or reported missing. It's reported that no matter how many people are present or how busy the area is, the side of the battlefield is absolutely silent except for the sounds of gunfire and drumming. The road, now called Bloody Lane, smells of gunpowder and soldiers are frequently seen wandering the road. Blue lights can be seen at night moving in time with the aforementioned drum beats. A church nearby was where some of the wounded were taken to be looked after, and it's said that the floorboards are so stained with blood that not even a sander can get rid of the stains. As part of the English War of the Roses, a battle was fought in Towton in 1461. A stream nearby, Cockbeck, ran red with blood from the battle. Over 30,000 soldiers died in the battle, which also took place in the middle of a large and heavy snowstorm. Every 7 years it's said that Towton has a similar snowstorm. If you walk into the storm, you'll see the soldiers battling it out again over several hours. Brownsville has been the site of 7 battles, including battles as part of the Civil War and the Mexican War. The Civil War battle took place in 1863, and it's unclear how many soldiers were injured or died, but there were over 8,000 soldiers involved. People have reported hearing the usual gunfire and shouts from the side of the battles, but the sighting that stands out the most is reported by a young couple, Barb and Cameron Dexter, who had parked their truck in the middle of the night. When they awoke, they heard gunfire close by. Rather than drive away immediately, they got out of the truck to investigate. They were soon surrounded by what they said looked like corpses in Confederate uniforms. They ran back into the truck, and once daylight broke, they could see the truck was covered in bloody handprints. More than 50,000 soldiers died over 3 days at the Battle of Gettysburg in 1863. There are hundreds of reported ghost sightings on this battlefield and the surrounding town, and the hauntings are the subject of several books and documentaries. Beds are reported to shake during the night, doors slam, ghostly figures walk through rooms where people are staying. People report hearing screams, and at points it's said that it sounds like you're standing in the middle of the battlefield, with hundreds of people dying around you. During the filming of the movie Gettysburg, some extras were approached by a man who smelt like gunpowder. They assumed he was another extra, but he handed them some bullets that weren't being used as props for the movie, and were later confirmed to be from the actual time period the battle had taken place. One of the most famous and most seen ghosts is the man who haunts the Devil's Den, a rocky outcrop close to the battlefield. He always says the same thing: what you're looking for is over there.
Well, there's another episode down. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, why not hit that subscribe button just there? If you've been subscribed for a while, then hit that bell icon to get all the latest updates about our channel. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew!
Slap.
Most hilarious CCTV footage ever taken. Some argue we're in a surveillance state. Well, I would argue that we wouldn't have this hilarious footage if it weren't for Big Brother. From men falling through roofs to an out-of-control cruise liner. Join us as we take a look at the most hilarious CCTV footage ever taken. Number 10. Here we have a dude overstacking a shelf with some wine. What could possibly go wrong? Number 9. Now it's time to play. How many times can this guy fall through a roof? Number 8. Here's some CCTV footage in a boring golf pro shop. What could possibly happen next?
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Billy. That hurt. That hurt.
Alright, don't move a muscle.
I'm fine.
This poor guy's probably got internal bleeding, but all his buddy does is take a snap for Facebook. I guess that's what happens when you get a hole in one. Kidney. Number 7. So it's obvious this person is having a little trouble driving. It looks like they stole the car, so they're probably feeling a little anxious, and then this happens. Number 6. Santa seems to have forgotten where he parked his sleigh. I sure hope it wasn't full of presents for all the good little children of the world.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy to the world, the Savior reigns. Let men their songs employ.
Number 5. So many of fine folk of the internet think this one is a fake, and with good reason, but there is a part of me that desperately wants it to be real. It's just too good. Number 4. There's nothing quite like a cruise to help you forget about the stress of the world. That is, unless you've sailed straight into a tsunami. Number 3. When it comes to the environment, this elephant is all ears and never forgets to clean up after itself. Number 2. Here's a girl working late nights as a waitress to save up for her trip. Through the window. Number 1. Don't you just hate it when your GPS tells you to take the next left straight through a shopping mall?
Yahoo!
Question time! So we haven't done one of these in a long time, so here goes. If you could create some fake CCTV footage, what would happen? What would the camera capture? Let us know in the comments section below, and the best, most hilarious creations will feature in our next Q&A. Well, hey, how about that footage? As always, thanks heaps for watching. If you like this footage, then hit that thumbs up button, because then we know you're enjoying the content. If you haven't already, hit that big old red subscribe button, because we have new stuff coming out each and every week. And this is the Slap Term signing off.
Slap him.
Japan's most haunted places. From the spirit of a World War II soldier visiting a military base to the tormented screams of a murdered young girl, join us as we take a look at Japan's most haunted places. This site, known only as Triple S Curve, is found on the Japanese island of Okinawa. There is very little information about this haunted area other than it's meant to be a hotbed of psychic energy. One Japanese forum claims that several soldiers lost their lives here. Visitors to the site have reported feelings of intense nausea, dizziness, vomiting, and even hallucinations. One man said he felt a ghostly hand rest on his shoulder when walking through the woods. At the old military base known as Sagami Depot in Kanagawa Prefecture, there is a seldom used field hospital that is said to be rife with paranormal activity. The military police send new recruits to the field hospital just to test them out. Patrols often report windows ajar, doors that have been locked left wide open even though they'd just been checked the night before. There's often disembodied whispers heard in the abandoned rooms. Shadow figures have been sighted roaming the grounds despite the field hospital having not been used in years. These reports have come from both Japanese and American soldiers. Formerly the Numahagashi Elementary School in Bihai City, this round schoolhouse is said to be a hotbed for paranormal activity. Built in 1906 as a learning centre, it was used as an elementary school through the 40s, 50s and 60s, becoming abandoned in the early 70s. There are reports of children going missing in the later years of the school. Locals warn people not to visit the abandoned schoolyard as they often hear terrible noises coming from the nearby forest. Now they say anyone who enters the crumbling ruin disappears or returns insane. Camp Hansen is a United States Marine Corps base located in Okinawa, Japan. Inside the compound at the infamous Gate 3, many soldiers have reported strange activity. It is said that every weekend a soldier dressed in World War II fatigues approaches the gate. He is covered in blood with a cigarette hanging from his mouth. He asks the on-duty guard for a light, then vanishes from sight. There are reports of this gate being closed altogether just because of this haunting. Some Japanese guards even refuse to be posted there. The well in Himeji Castle in Japan's Hyogo Prefecture is said to be haunted by a young girl who shrieks at night time. The legend tells of a young girl named Okiku who served the samurai Aoyama Tasan. On many occasions, Okiku refused to become the samurai's lover. After many advances, Aoyama decided to trick the girl by hiding one of the family's 10 precious Delft plates. The samurai blackmailed the poor girl, saying that he'd be willing to overlook the missing plate if they became lovers. Okiko refused once more. Enraged, the samurai threw Okiku into the well, killing her immediately. It is said that Okiku's spirit became an onryo, a vengeful ghost that haunts the scene of her death. On clear nights, her spirit rises from the well, counts to 9, then lets out a chilling scream before descending back into the dark waters below. The Doryodo ruins in Adakayama Park in Hachioji, Tokyo were once a place of worship, but now they're known for something more sinister. In 1963, an 83-year-old woman was found brutally murdered on the side of the old temple. She was killed by a robber who looted the temple and left the old lady's body in the forest. Then, just 10 years later, a young student from St. Paul's University was found dead amongst the abandoned ruins. It was reported that the girl was having an affair with the university lecturer Oba Hiroshi. When the affair became publicly known, the professor, who was married with 2 children, felt his only way out was to murder the young girl and hide her body in the rural temple. The body was not discovered for several weeks. Locals told the police that they heard a young girl's voice coming from the forest that said, "I'm here, I'm here." In 1983, the old temple was dismantled. Many visitors claim they feel a sudden sadness come over them when they visit the site. Others say the voice of the young girl can still be heard crying out in the night, begging to be found. Located in the Ikebukuro area of Tokyo, Sunshine 60 is reported to be the world's first haunted skyscraper. Employees and construction workers alike tell stories of disembodied screams, chains rattling, and faces disappearing into the shadows. Built in 1978, this shopping centre and business hub once had the crown of the tallest building in Asia. However, despite its record-setting achievement and cheery name, it had a hard time relinquishing its sinister past. This enormous building was built on the former grounds of the infamous Sugamo prison. In its prime, the jail housed up to 2,000 inmates, 7 of which were executed on site. In the public eye, the Sunshine 60 project was deemed cursed. During its construction, many workers inexplicably lost their lives, some dying of faulty equipment, others falling from great heights, even though all safety precautions were in place. The workers often complained of strange noises, whispers or crying, chains rattling along the cement floors. Paranormal activity continued once the Sunshine 60's doors opened to the public, making it one of Japan's most haunted places. Customers have reported seeing faces in change rooms, orbs of light, and ghostly hands touch them as they go about their shopping. Many say they've seen a young girl jump off the roof of the building. Shocked and frightened, customers rush to the windows expecting to see the young girl hit the pavement below, but there's nothing there. Another regular apparition is the old lady that haunts the offices of the building. She's said to be gaunt and haggard with no eyeballs. She crawls about the cubicles of the offices whispering, "Where is it?" but when confronted, just disappears into nothing. Situated in the Shinjuku ward of Tokyo is the site of a mass burial ground for one of Japan's most sinister war crimes. Toyama Park was the former site of Tokyo Army Medical College, which housed the infamous Unit 731. They were a group of doctors tasked with developing chemical and biological weapons during World War II. They would perform sinister experiments on Chinese and Russian prisoners of war. The doctors would infect and dissect the soldiers while they were still alive. In 1989, the experiments were exposed when construction began in Toyama Park. As construction workers cleared the land for a new medical center, they unearthed hundreds of mutilated remains. The bones had clear signs of experimentation. Author Seiichi Muramura, who wrote a book about the atrocious medical experiments, said the acts of 731 are the equivalent to Auschwitz. Many people claim they hear tormented screams throughout the park, especially at night. They feel as though they're being watched and can feel a great sadness in the area. They say the souls of the victims are trapped, looking to be released from their eternal torture. Well that's a bit terrifying. As always, thanks heaps for watching. If you're enjoying the creepy content, hit that thumbs up button, it really helps us out. If you're new to the channel, then why not subscribe, because we have content just like this coming out each and every week. And this is our slap term shining.
How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Today we're talking about some super creepy paranormal deaths. From alien abductions and spontaneous human combustion to an entire family that was allegedly possessed. Join us as we take a look at 10 supernatural deaths that have left authorities baffled. And before we get into it, remember to hit that subscribe button for more creepy content just like this.
Carl Pruitt continued to demonstrate his displeasure with life even after he was dead and buried. In 1938, while living in Pulaski County, Kentucky, Pruitt discovered his wife cheating on him with another man. Rather than simply walking away and getting on with his life, Pruitt strangled his wife to death with a chain and then took his own life. Understandably, the family of Mrs. Pruitt requested that Pruitt be buried in a cemetery in another town, having no desire to see his grave every time they visited their loved one. Here's where things start to get very strange. After he was buried, people began to notice unusual marks appearing on and around Pruitt's grave. The grass on his grave was discoloured, and circular stains began to appear on the gravestone itself, eventually taking the form of a chain. The strange chain-like formation naturally grew the attention of the curious, and soon rumours began to spread about Pruitt and his grave. Around a month after the chain appeared on the grave, a group of young boys visited the cemetery to see the grave. James Collins, in an attempt to prove his lack of fear, tossed a rock at Pruitt's grave, which chipped off a piece of the headstone. Shortly after, the boys left the cemetery on their bicycles. As he pedalled home, Collins had an accident that resulted in his bike chain wrapping around his neck, strangling and killing him on the spot. In a fit of grief and rage, Collins' mother attacked Pruitt's grave with an axe. The day after the incident, she became tangled in a clothesline while hanging the laundry. As she struggled, she lost her footing and the clothesline wrapped around her neck, strangling her to death. 3 other people died after showing disrespect for Pruitt and his grave, including a police officer who'd been dispatched by a local congressman to investigate the deaths associated with Pruitt's final resting place. All 3 died as a result of some type of injury to the neck and throat, 2 by strangulation, and in the case of the police officer, near decapitation. As a result of all the tragedy associated with the cemetery, many family members opted to have their loved ones moved to other locations, and eventually the graveyard became overgrown and forgotten. Carl Pruitt's remains were the only few that weren't moved. On October 8, 2009, Bobby and Sherilyn Jamison, along with their 6-year-old daughter Madison, went for a 30-mile drive to view a 40-acre plot of land they were considering buying in the Sandboys Mountains near Red Oak, Oklahoma. All 3 of the Jamisons disappeared on that day, and it was 4 years before their bodies were found. People disappear all the time, but the circumstances that the Jamisons were in at the time of their disappearance were anything but normal. Many people feel that theirs were a paranormal death due to the activities that were taking place in their lives at the time. Gary Brandon, the Jamisons' family pastor, came forward to say that the family had come to him for guidance because they believed that their house was haunted and that they were under spiritual attack. They revealed to Brandon that they had made contact with spirits in their home, and that their daughter, Madison in particular, was carrying on conversations with a little girl that had previously died in the house. Brandon went on to say that Bobby Jamison was particularly distraught by the haunting and that he requested special bullets that he had hoped to use to kill the invading spirits. Nikki Chenault, a close friend of Sherilyn, went on to say that not only was the house haunted by a negative presence, but that Bobby, who was typically known for being kind and even-tempered, would suddenly go after his wife in a manner that was not at all like him. Sherilyn had told her friend that she was concerned that her husband was possessed. 4 years after they disappeared, the Jamisons were found in the woods, face down in a road not too far from where their truck was found during the initial search. There's been some speculation that it was a murder-suicide due to a hole that was found in the back of Bobby Jamison's skull, but there were no similar wounds found on Sherilyn or Madison. The autopsies were inconclusive as to the cause of death due to the amount of time the bodies had been exposed to the elements. On June 6, 1980, Zygmunt Adamski, a 57-year-old coal worker, left his home in Tingley, UK in the late afternoon to go do some shopping. When he didn't show up for a wedding the next day, family members grew concerned and started asking around in an attempt to discover his whereabouts. According to those who knew him, Adamski was well thought of with no enemies, but he had apparently vanished. It was several days later, on June 11, 1980, that Adamski was discovered by Trevor Parker in a coal yard in a railway in Todmorden, approximately 30 miles from his home. Adamski was found on top of a 10-foot coal pile, positioned face up and looking as if he'd been dropped or deposited there. He was missing his shirt but otherwise clothed, and he had strange burns on his neck and shoulders. Even stranger was the fact that the burns had been treated with an unidentified ointment that the medical examiner couldn't identify. Though Adamski had been missing for 5 days, he only had light stubble on his face, and his stomach contents suggested that he had recently eaten. Though the official cause of death was listed as a heart attack, many speculate about the possibility of extraterrestrial abduction as being the true cause of Adamski's disappearance and death. Alan Godfrey was one of the first police officers on the scene, and he later claimed to have been abducted by aliens approximately 6 months after Adamski's death, and just a few miles away from where his body was discovered. This further fueled the idea that Adamski's was a paranormal death brought about by alien abduction. In 1994, an unidentified Brazilian man was found horribly mutilated in the Guaraparanga Reservoir in the southern portion of Sao Paulo, Brazil. The corpse was missing his left eye, left ear and lips. His rectum had also been cored out and numerous internal organs had been removed. While this in itself is disturbing enough, the way in which the organs had been removed takes this into the realm of the strange and downright creepy. According to the medical examiners, the internal organs were removed from the body by some type of vacuum or suction mechanism. Several exit holes were found on his body through which the organs were removed. The body had also been completely drained of its blood supply. While the official cause of death was listed as a heart attack induced by pain and shock, there has been a lot of speculation as to who actually did this. Comparisons have been made between the mutilated man and the numerous cattle mutilations that have come to be associated with UFO sightings. The removal of organs and soft tissue was done quickly and with precision, and the site where the man was found was completely clean of blood and other evidence. It is thought by many that the procedures performed on the man were beyond the technical expertise of man, and that the mutilated man was the victim of alien experiments. Dr. Kieran McLaughlin, the coroner for West Galway Island, gave his first verdict of death by spontaneous human combustion in his 25 years as a medical professional. On December 22, 2010, Michael Faraday was discovered in his living room at his home in Galway. His neighbour called the police after hearing a fire alarm and witnessing smoke pouring from the man's window. Faraday's body was completely burned, but the only damage to the house was the floor beneath him and ceiling above. A fire in the nearby fireplace was ruled out as the cause of death. Spontaneous human combustion is believed by some to be the result of an internal chemical reaction that requires no external source for ignition. There is no definitive proof of this, and there is a lot of conjecture as to the real cause of the phenomena. There have been hundreds of reports of spontaneous human combustion, but unfortunately there have been only a handful of cases that have actually been investigated with any real expertise. In April 1991, medical examiners listed heart failure as the cause of death for Christopher Case, a 35-year-old resident of Seattle. But was it really heart failure, or had Case actually been cursed by a witch whose affections he had refused? Case was a healthy, fit, 35-year-old man who didn't drink or use drugs, with no history of serious health issues. The only odd thing about Christopher Case was that he claimed to know that his death was on the way. It's alleged that Case refused the advances of a woman he had met while in San Francisco. While getting to know one another, she had informed Case that she was a witch, unsettling Case, who then turned down her advances. Shortly after returning home to Seattle, Case became convinced that he had been cursed by the woman for his refusal. He called friends shortly before he died, telling him that the woman was attacking him during the night, leaving bruises and small cuts on his body, and that there were strange things occurring in his home. He further stated that he was afraid for his life, feeling that he could die in the near future unless he finds some way to lift the curse. Case's friends began to worry about him, eventually calling the Seattle Police Department to request a welfare check after not having heard from him. What the police found was truly disturbing. His home was filled with crucifixes and various talismans apparently intended to protect him from the curse. There were also numerous candles, and lines of salt had been poured along the walls, doors and windows for further protection. The police found Case in his bathroom. He was discovered in his bathtub, fully clothed and kneeling. There were more candles, crucifixes and salt in the bathroom around him. Case had died, but was it really from a heart attack, or was it actually the curse of a spurned witch? Gaurav Tiwari, a 32-year-old paranormal investigator, was found unconscious in his Delhi, India home on July 8, 2016. His family stated that they heard a loud noise from the bathroom before discovering him unconscious on the bathroom floor. He later died at the hospital of apparent asphyxiation, and there was an unusual black line around his neck that was only discovered after he had died. Tiwari was a prolific paranormal investigator, having visited over 6,000 homes in the course of his career. His family revealed that he had felt that a negative energy had attached itself to him around a month before he died. The death was ruled as a suicide, but his family felt that even though he had shown some signs of depression due to a heavy workload, he was typically happy and had no reason to take his own life. Many now wonder if a negative energy in Tiwari's life could have influenced him, causing him to commit suicide, or if he was physically attacked by a demonic entity. Ten-day-old John Edison Malachi died under mysterious circumstances in December 2011. Located in Talisay City, Philippines, John Edison's grandparents found red spatters that turned out to be blood on the floor of their daughter's home in the early morning hours. Assuming that rats could be the cause of the spatters, Virgil Arbequez called his daughter and told her what he had found. John Edison's mother, Kimberly, found her child with blood draining from his mouth and nose, as well as what looked like a puncture in his navel. the child was rushed to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. While authorities suspect foul play in the death of John Edison Malachi, his family, along with friends and spiritual leaders, believe it was the work of some type of supernatural creature, noting that blood was also found on the ceiling of the home. Kimberly stated that her son was healthy and that no strange noises or activities had been observed that would indicate a normal human intruder. Neighbours stated that they had heard bird sounds and that bloodstains had also been spotted on the rooftop of the home. Eliza Lamb's strange behaviour and bizarre death have baffled authorities for years. The 21-year-old Canadian student disappeared on January 31, 2013, while vacationing at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles, California. Prior to her disappearance, Lamb was captured on video surveillance exhibiting unusual behaviour in a Cecil Hotel elevator. In the video, she seems to be anxious. She's seen peering out of the elevator almost as if she's afraid that she's being followed. Lamb was diagnosed with bipolar disorder but was taking medication that seemed to alleviate her symptoms. Her family stated that she had never exhibited any type of suicidal tendencies. Lamb's body was discovered on February 19, 2013 in a rooftop water tank where she apparently drowned. Her body was only discovered after hotel guests began to complain about the water being foul. The Cecil Hotel is known for its infamous guests and it's seen its fair share of tragedies. Richard Ramirez, better known as the Night Stalker, lived at the hotel for a short time, and there have been numerous deaths at the hotel since it opened in 1927. Today it's known as one of the most haunted hotels in America. While Lamb's death was officially listed as an accidental drowning, many wonder if the hotel's haunted atmosphere may have had a negative effect on her. There are also many questions as to how she made her way into the water tank in the first place. Doors and stairs leading to the roof are all locked and alarmed and are only accessible by staff. The fire escape is one explanation of how Lamb accessed the rooftop, but only if she knew about its existence. Before we get to the number one spot and find out what happened to these young Russian skiers, remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on channel notifications. That way you'll be up to date with all our latest content. Over the years, there's been much speculation about what actually took place during what should have been an enjoyable excursion by a group of Russian skiers. On the night of February 2nd, 1959, 9 team members of the Dyatlov hiking and ski team died on the eastern slope of Kholat-Syakhl. There has been no concrete explanation for their deaths or the events that led up to the incident. The team set up camp on Kholat-Syakhl after a course change brought on by a snowstorm. It would have been several weeks before the first bodies were discovered. The ski team was expected to arrive in Vizhai on February 11th, 1959. Once there, they were to send telegrams to family members telling them of their safe arrival. When no contact was made, the team's family members weren't initially concerned, but when more than a week had passed with no contact, they requested that a search party be assembled. It wasn't until February 25th that a military pilot saw the derelict camp. The rescue team discovered the camp in disarray, with the tent sliced open from the inside and clothing strewn about. Footprints of people dressed haphazardly in socks or bare feet led investigators to the first 2 bodies, both men dressed only in undergarments. The men were found near the forest and there were signs of a fire nearby. 3 more bodies were found closer to the camp and it seemed that they were attempting to return to the tent. It was thought that all 5 individuals died from hypothermia. 2 months passed before the final 4 team members were found in a ravine near where the first 2 bodies were discovered. All 4 bodies showed signs of major trauma or crush injuries, and 1 body was missing their tongue. There were no external injuries, but small amounts of radiation were detected on the bodies and the clothing they were wearing. After a final examination of the bodies, the remains of the camp and the state it was left in, investigators determined that the team died due to an encounter with a natural force they were unable to overcome. Access to the site was limited for a period of 3 years, with the investigation results listed as classified. Many questions have arisen as to what really happened to the skiers. Numerous theories have been put forth, including a Yeti attack, Soviet military tests, and UFOs. It's been noted that balls of light were seen near the camp and could have been responsible for the death of the ski team, but no official explanation for the lights has ever been given.
Fresh pants please, that was a little bit terrifying. Well, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that upward facing thumb if you're enjoying the content, leave us a comment down below or subscribe if you're new. And that's it for me, I'll see you all next time. Pew!
Slurp.
Top 10 worst computer viruses of all time. Computer viruses have been around for decades. Sometimes they are construed as mere pranks, but most of the time they have malicious intent. Back in the 80s, pre-internet, computer viruses were spread by humans. The virus was stored on a disk and distributed physically from computer to computer. Now that society relies so heavily on digital communication, the spread of computer viruses poses a serious threat to modern infrastructure. So join us as we delve into the seedy cyber world of computer viruses. The Melissa virus. This virus was created in 1999 and was based on a Microsoft Word macro. It spread through an email message attachment. When the attachment was clicked, the virus replicated and went out to the top 50 people in your contact book. This meant that the virus spread very quickly. It caused major problems throughout the US in the government and private sector. The creator of the virus was sentenced to 20 months in jail and a $5,000 fine. The Kles virus. First introduced in 2001, this nasty bug spread through email messages. This one was particularly clever and used spoofing, which made the virus-ridden email look as if it was coming from someone in your address book. It was a nasty virus which could leave your machine completely unusable. The virus could disable virus scanning software and even masquerade as virus removal software. Code Red and Code Red 2 worms. These malicious worms appeared in 2001. If your computer was infected with the Code Red 2 worm, a remote user was able to control your computer via backdoor access, giving the hacker free reign over all your personal information. Windows NT machines were affected by Code Red worms, which caused them to crash. Microsoft eventually released a security patch which prevented your computer from infection. However, if you already had the virus, you needed to go buy antivirus software to remove it. The Nimda virus. Here's another from 2001 which spread extremely quickly. It was designed to attack internet servers to bring internet traffic to a standstill. This virus also attacked individual computers and spread through email. It created backdoors which allowed the creators of the virus to take control of the machine. SQL Slammer virus. This nasty digital infection hit in 2003 and was designed to attack web servers. This virus brought down the Bank of America's ATM service, and Continental Airlines had to cancel flights due to electronic ticketing problems. This virus spread so fast, in less than 10 minutes it infected nearly 75,000 computers. My Doom. Here's another sneaky virus that created backdoors on victims' machines. It caused problems for search engines by sending search requests and using email addresses found in results. Search engines received millions of searches from corrupted machines, causing widespread crashes. I Love You. Released in 2000, this worm was written in Visual Basic Script and could self-replicate itself. The virus travelled via email and instant messaging clients with the subject line saying it was from a secret admirer. The virus was able to copy itself and hide in different folders on the computer's hard drive. New files were created in the system registry, enabling the virus to steal passwords and email them back to the hackers. According to sources, the I Love You virus caused $10 billion in damages. The Sasa virus. Attacking vulnerable computer systems running Windows XP and Windows 2000, this nasty piece of coding made it difficult to shut your computer down without cutting the power. The virus spread by exploiting a vulnerable port in the system. The virus caused worldwide chaos. The French news agency Agence France-Presse had its satellites blocked for several hours. American flight company Delta Airlines had to cancel several transatlantic flights. The Nordic insurance company If and their Finnish owners Sampo Bank had to close 130 offices throughout Finland. The British Coast Guard lost their mapping service for several hours. Goldman Sachs suffered issues with the worm, while the Lund University Hospital had their X-ray machines disabled for several hours, forcing them to send patients to a nearby hospital. Microsoft offered a $250,000 bounty, which led to the arrest of 18-year-old German computer science student Sven Jaschen. He was tried as a minor as it was determined that the virus was created before he turned 18. Jaschen received a 21-month suspended sentence. Netsky. This one is a family of computer worms that affect Windows users. It spread through email, creating a denial of service attack that caused systems to collapse. The Netsky virus was also created by previously mentioned Sven Jaschen. This virus is perhaps most famous because within its coding it insulted the creators of the viruses MyDoom and Bagel, sparking a sort of cyber war that prompted an increase in the number of variants of each of these viruses. Stormworm. This nasty piece of work is a Trojan horse discovered on January 17, 2007. It was named this because the email messages carrying the virus had a subject line 230 dead as storm batters Europe. The virus allowed hackers to take over computers and send spam. The virus spread through the downloading of fake links to news stories and videos, with the subject line changing to reflect current topical news events. This virus is said to have been detected in more than 200 million emails. Well, I've gone and caught the computer sniffles. As always, thanks heaps for watching. Remember to hit that thumbs up button because it lets us know you're enjoying the content. And while you're at it, why not leave a nice long hate-filled rant in the comment section below, because we love reading them. And this is the Saturn Shining Wolf.
How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Today we're talking about some terrifying haunted places in China. From the ghosts of hikers that went missing on the Great Wall of China to a road that's allegedly so haunted motorists swear they've had to swerve around spirits. So join us as we take a look at the 10 most haunted places in China. And before we get into it, remember to hit that subscribe button for more creepy content just like this.
Chaonei number 81 is a 3-story mansion in Beijing built in the French Baroque style. According to legend, it was built by members of the Qing dynasty as a church for British expats living and working in Beijing. Sometime in the middle of the 20th century, the building became the home of a powerful Kuomintang Nationalist Party official. In 1949, the Communists defeated the Nationalists at the end of China's Civil War. As the Communists marched into Beijing, the terrified official fled, leaving his wife behind. Devastated by her husband's abandonment, she hung herself. It's alleged her ghost has haunted the mansion ever since, and people have reported hearing her screams. Some say they've seen feet hanging from the rafters of dark rooms, but when they rush in to help, there's no one there. There are also rumours of homeless people that have ventured into the house looking for warmth and a place to sleep. They say they go in but never come out. In 1807, a wealthy philanthropist had the Huiguang Opera House constructed in Beijing with only the best of intentions, to provide shelter for the poor. Unfortunately, the chosen site was partially on top of an ancient graveyard, and the deceased apparently didn't appreciate the disturbance of their final resting place. The building, which is now an opera house and museum, is said to be haunted. One story holds that, in the early 1900s, the owners hired a housekeeper who had been severely disfigured by leprosy. The man's appearance was thought to repel the ghosts, so they stayed away while he was there. After he left, the ghosts returned. Since then, people have heard screaming and scolding. Legend has it that a ghost who haunts the courtyard will scold people who throw stones in it. The 220-room Yunshan Fandian Hotel, which is located in the city Chengde north of Beijing, overlooks the Yangtze River. It was supposedly built on land that had once been part of the Qing dynasty's royal gardens. The hotel is said to be haunted by no less a person than the Empress Dowager Cixi. Her apparition has been reported by many hotel workers. They say she appears on the 8th floor and likes to look at her old gardens. Some have said they've seen her spirit sitting eerily in the shadows of certain rooms. When they look directly at her, she lunges at them but turns into a mist and disappears. There's also reports of a ghost of a man in Western dress that appears on the same floor. He looks solemn and paces up and down the hallway. General Yuan Chonghuan had led the Ming army to a number of impressive victories. His enemies planted evidence that he had committed treason, and the emperor was thus convinced of Yuan's guilt. He condemned Yuan to death by Ling Chi, or slow slicing. According to legend, spectators at the execution ate slices of Yuan's body. His father was able to retrieve his head and placed it in the tomb, which is located in Beijing's Chongwenmen area. It's alleged that the general's angry ghost has been seen prowling the area and vowing vengeance ever since. The two Chu brothers originally came to Shanghai as migrant workers at the start of the 20th century. They dreamed of becoming rich and had the great fortune to find a warehouse that the Germans had abandoned after World War I. It was filled with paint, which was becoming increasingly expensive at the time. The brothers soon made a fortune selling their find. They then built twin mansions next to each other, complete with gardens and an artificial lake. The Chu brothers became notorious for their lavish and luxurious lifestyle in a city racked by financial woes. They collected exotic animals like tigers, crocodiles and peacocks that roamed their gardens. At some point, however, the brothers mysteriously vanished and their enraged neighbours broke into the mansions and looted them. They also killed and ate some of the animals. Since then, people have claimed that the ghosts of the abandoned and slain animals haunt the Chu mansions, which have since fallen into disrepair. People have reported seeing and hearing strange creatures at the mansions. Night guards working at the Four Seasons Hotel across the street have sometimes gone to the hospital to be treated for unexplained animal bites. A woman claimed to have seen a dragon crawling on a crane on the property. In another incident, a mason attacked his manager. He claimed lizards had ordered him to attack anyone nearby. The Sai Ying Pun Community Complex, located on High Street, Hong Kong, was built in 1892. Its original purpose was quite benign, to provide housing for European nurses. The Japanese occupied Hong Kong for much of World War II, however, and, according to legend, they often used the complex as a site for executions. After World War II, the complex was converted into an insane asylum that was abandoned after several fires. Since then, people have claimed to have seen various spirits at the complex, like headless poltergeists running down the corridors in the middle of the night. The second floor is said to be haunted by devilish-looking creatures in traditional Chinese dress that spontaneously burst into fire. People have also reported hearing the footsteps and screams of a girl or woman who was attacked by Japanese soldiers during World War II. Chunmun Road, which was built in 1977, is a very busy highway that links the Hong Kong villages Tsuen and Chunmun. It's also supposedly one of the most haunted roads in the world. Chunmun Road has a reputation for being one of the world's most dangerous roads on account of all the mysterious traffic accidents that occur. The South China Morning Post reported that there had been 250 traffic accidents on Chunmun Road between the years 2010 and 2012. And bizarrely, it's just 12.1 miles long. Not surprisingly, it's thought that the ghosts are those of people who have died in traffic accidents. In 2003, for example, a bus crash along the road caused 21 fatalities. People claim to have seen or encountered the victims' ghosts. Worse, some stories hold that the ghosts are trying to add to their ranks. They will cause crashes by suddenly appearing in front of cars, forcing them to swerve at the last minute. Some people have claimed that the ghosts will seize control of their vehicle and drive them off the bridge. The Forbidden City, located in Beijing, was built in the early 15th century during the reign of Emperor Yongle, who was infamous for his wickedness. On one occasion, he tried to suppress a sex scandal by slaughtering up to 2,800 people. The Forbidden City, which was used as the Imperial Palace until 1912, has been the site of many murders, assassinations, executions and similar events. It's no wonder then that some of the victims' ghosts are said to roam the city. The doorways within the buildings have special high steps that people have to step over. The Chinese believe that ghosts can't jump, and the high steps would thus trap them in a single room. Since the Forbidden City was opened to the public in 1940, people have reported seeing ghostly dogs. Different people have claimed to have seen the ghosts of eunuchs, brides, and soldiers, while others have heard women talking and laughing or music playing. There are also stories about a woman in white who wanders about crying. As recently as 1995, one of the guards encountered a woman in black whom he initially thought was a trespasser. When she turned to speak to him, he saw that she had no face. The guards make a point of closing the city to visitors at 5 PM every day, so there's very little chance it was an actual intruder. Fengdu sits on the Ming Hill at the northern end of the Yangtze River. Built 2,000 years ago, it's often called the City of Ghosts. Legend has it that during the Han Dynasty, a pair of officials from the imperial court, Yin Changshen and Wang Fangping, came to the city to practice Taoist rituals that eventually made them immortal. Combining their surnames produces the phrase Yin Wang, which means King of Hell, and they were said to drag people into the underworld. Fengdu is home to 3 sites that ghosts must visit before they visit the underworld. Nothing to be Done Bridge, Ghost Torturing Pass, and Tianzi, Son of Heaven Palace. Ghosts must take tests at each place. Those who pass will go to heaven, while those who fail will go to hell. Other sites in Fengdu include a large temple built during the Tang Dynasty that depicts the torments of hell. A far more recent attraction is the Last Glance at Home Tower, which was built in 1985. It honours the site where spirits condemned to hell could take one last glance at their families. Sinister laughing is often heard late at night. Neighbouring villages say they hear all kinds of strange noises coming from the area. They say it sounds like someone is being tortured. The Great Wall is another site within haunted China. Originally believed to be around 5,000 miles long, measurements taken between 2007 and 2012 show that it's actually 13,170 miles long. Parts of the wall date back to the 7th century BC. 1 to 2 million workers died during the centuries of construction, and their ghosts are said to haunt the wall ever since. Visitors have reported seeing ghosts along the wall or hearing the sounds of marching footsteps without seeing anybody there. Some visitors have reported sudden feelings of uneasiness or attacks of nausea, pain or headaches. Others have reported being slapped, punched or grabbed by unseen beings. Local legend warns that visitors will be haunted and harassed by the ghosts of the dead workers until they scare them away by stepping over a line of firecrackers. The Wild Wall, which is located north of Beijing, is said to be the most haunted part of the wall. Several hikers have actually died in this area under mysterious circumstances. Their ghosts have been seen prowling the wall ever since.
Well, that's the end of another episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying our content, remember to hit that upward facing thumb, subscribe if you're new, or leave us a comment down below. We love reading them. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew! How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Today we're talking about witches. From the multiple sightings of witches throughout Mexico to the blood-sucking bruja of Colombian folklore, we take a look at 9 witches caught on camera.
This footage surfaced in 2011. Filmed in Guanajuato, Mexico, a town known for its silver mining and colonial architecture, 2 men spot something terrifying. In an open field at the back of a farm, a strange creature can be seen flying through the air. The man filming yells bruja, which is the Spanish word for witch or sorceress. The unknown creature glides through the air effortlessly and at one point begins chasing one of the men through the field. Practitioners of black magic and members of the occult have long been reported in rural areas of Mexico. Could this video be proof of witchcraft? This footage began circulating in mid-2017. Filmed in Mexico City, it shows a shadowy humanoid figure flying through the sky. The footage was captured on a phone camera by school children during their soccer training. At first, several of the kids laugh nervously as they don't know how to identify the flying figure. Then someone in the crowd screams. There are as many as a dozen witnesses who dubbed the creature a witch, including a gobsmacked teacher who watches on with his students. This footage was captured in the 1970s by German journalist Ralph Olsen, who travelled to Africa. As he travelled through rural villages, he got word of a powerful shaman that lived in the nearby hills. He visited the shaman's campsite and captured this stunning footage. First, the shaman performs a sacred ritual, creating a ring of fire. His acolytes begin chanting as he slowly lifts off the ground, holds for a moment in mid-air, then returns back down. He repeats this process a number of times. When Olsen returned from his trip with the footage, he was ousted from the broadcasting community as a joke, his reputation left in tatters. Decades later, he maintained that the footage was real and was in no way tampered with. What do you think? Is this shaman really levitating, or is the fire a ploy to keep people at a distance so it's harder to see what's going on? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. There's not a lot of solid information about this clip. All that's known is that the footage was captured by a security camera at Indemil, a military-grade weapons manufacturer in Colombia. One evening, the security team spotted a strange figure lurking around the government-run facility. The footage shows a hunched-over figure limp into the compound. It looks like it's wearing a black cape as it ducks in and out of the shadows. The clip spread quickly around South American social media, many claiming it to be a witch-like creature from Colombian mythology. Others simply dismissed it as a mangy dog looking for food. While this isn't footage of a witch, many have speculated that this young girl was the target of black magic or witchcraft. Several years ago, the girl seen in this clip kept waking up with bruising all over her body. She couldn't explain what was happening, so she decided to set up a camera to film her movements while she slept. What the camera captured is unsettling to say the least. You can see clearly the girl rise out of her bed, float in the air for a moment, then lower back down. When this footage was uploaded to YouTube back in 2009, it swept through social media and forums, begging the question, is it real? The video was recorded by a man in Russia walking his dog through the woods. Everything seems normal until the dog pauses for a moment as if something's wrong. It begins to bark and runs off down a trail. When the man catches up to his dog, he sees something startling. There in the forest is a girl levitating in the air as a friend watches on. Once they realize they've been spotted, the two girls run out of sight. The short, unattributed clip led many to speculate that the girls were practicing to torment the area. Others say it's merely a lantern that's been set on fire lifting into the air. In the town of Monterrey in the Mexican state of Nuevo León, reports of bruja or witches began surfacing around the city. Then in May 2006, this striking footage was released to the public. The local media ran with the story, calling it a UFO, but in the acronym's true sense, a literal unidentified flying object. Quickly it was dubbed the Witch of Monterrey, and the story spread like wildfire. In the footage, we clearly see a strange black humanoid figure floating across the mountain range in a straight line. Several days later, 2 police officers claimed they were attacked by 2 hooded creatures in a nearby cemetery. One of the officers said they saw the mysterious beings flying in circles above the graveyard before being attacked. The cemetery is located right under the flight path of the figures seen in this video. Many locals claim witches have haunted the area for centuries, and with the 2 testimonies from police officers along with this footage, one has to wonder what is going on in the city of Monterrey, Mexico.
Well, that was a little bit terrifying. That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button right there or the red one down below. If you're a regular, leave us a comment. We love reading them. Hit that upward facing thumb as well. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time. Pew! How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Today we're talking about some creepy UFO encounters. From strange balls of light seen by up to a dozen people right across the coast of Baja, California, to recently declassified government footage that seems to show an alien craft. So join us as we take a look at 8 UFO sightings with real footage. And before we get into it, remember to hit that subscribe button for more creepy content just like this.
This encounter left several US Air Force pilots completely stunned. This video forms part of a top-secret file documented in 2004 that was previously unreleased to the public. Finally, in late 2017, the US Department of Defense Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program released this stunning evidence. The footage shows several US Air Force pilots tracking an unidentified flying object. The visuals were filmed from an FA-18 Super Hornet, which was called in to track a strange object flying through the sky. The pilots chat over radio communication about what they're seeing. One pilot reveals that there's a whole fleet of UFOs detected on radar. The tone of their voice suggests they have no idea what they're looking at, they're simply stunned by the encounter. The New York Times reported in 2012 that the specialized government program designed to identify aerospace threats was shut down. Is it possible that the program was collecting too much evidence to support the existence of extraterrestrials and was stopped prematurely by higher-up officials? Love to hear your opinion in the comments section below. This astonishing footage comes from a newly declassified video that documents the moments US Navy pilots get a lock-on what many are calling an alien spacecraft. The pilots were flying their Boeing FA-18 Super Hornet fighter jet along the east coast of the United States when they encountered a UFO. The spherical craft was travelling at great speeds, but one of the pilots managed to lock onto the target. Throughout the video you can hear the excited chatter among the servicemen.
Nickel 6-1 Tango Roger. Roger, there's some troubleshooting. You box moving target?
This is one of 3 declassified videos that feature unidentified aerial phenomena or UAPs captured by the military. They've recently undergone a review process and were approved for public release. Despite scrutiny from several government departments, the footage remains a mystery. No one has been able to definitively explain the craft spotted in this video. This footage was captured on the 12th of April 2018 by a passing tourist in Baja, California. At the start of the clip you can see 5 mysterious lights sitting in the sky above the ocean. They hover in the same position for around 2 minutes when suddenly more lights appear. One glowing ball of light appears above the line of 5, then another 4 can be spotted. Slowly the first 5 orbs of light disappear, leaving the others still hovering in the night sky. The eyewitness that filmed the incident estimates that the balls of light were flying 1 to 2 miles off the coast of Baja. The curious thing about this incident is that it was reported by dozens of witnesses all along the coast, from San Diego to Tijuana and Rosarito. Some attempted explanations for the sighting include oil rigs, flares, and military operations. However, no one can confirm with certainty that any of these explain the incident. Firstly, many of the witnesses confirmed that the objects were in the air, which rules out oil rigs. Flares can't hover in formation for that period of time, and the last option, military operations, which is the most plausible, always seems like a convenient response. However, it was confirmed by United States Coast Guard Joel Guzman that the military were conducting an exercise on that date. It's not known what drill they were running or what technology they were testing, but it seems far beyond anything known to the public. This stunning piece of footage was taken from the International Space Station live feed on the 14th of April 2018, just 2 days after the spate of sightings across Baja, California. To the left of screen you can see a portion of the ISS as it orbits Earth. During the live broadcast, a mysterious object begins to shimmer in space. The Daily Mail described the object as though a spacecraft was uncloaking, as if the Earth's magnetic field was interfering with the craft's stealth system. As the lights flicker, they do seem to reveal the density of some kind of object. Rounded edges suggest, for the briefest of moments, solid matter. What could this phenomenon be? Experts have weighed in on the encounter, claiming that it's nothing more than lens flare from the camera. Others think that the lights are too inconsistent to be lens flare, offering that perhaps it could be space junk reflecting the rays of the sun. However, core UFO enthusiasts are adamant that this is a glimpse of highly advanced alien technology that is simply beyond human comprehension. This astonishing footage baffled government officials for more than 2 years and was officially released to the public in early 2017. This clip was filmed on November 11, 2014 by a Chilean Navy helicopter pilot. An accompanying technician also witnessed the event and was at the time testing an infrared camera. In the footage we see a disc-shaped object trailing across the sky. It flies at a similar altitude and trajectory of the helicopter. At 2 separate times the UFO discharges a trail of hot liquid. The object could be seen by the naked eye and by infrared camera, however the helicopter's radar detected no nearby craft. After the technician reported the sighting, air traffic control confirmed that there was no aircraft planned to fly in that airspace at that time, nor could they detect anything flying in that area. The pilot made several attempts to contact the craft using the multinational civilian bandwidth, which is designed for these occasions. There was no answer. An official investigation launched by the CEFAA, a specialized Chilean government agency which examines UFOs and UAPs. After an exhaustive inquiry, the agency couldn't come up with any definite conclusions. This footage is considered to be some of the most significant UFO footage ever captured. The 2 highly reliable Navy witnesses, the quality footage filmed on military-grade equipment, the fact that it goes for 9 minutes, all amounts to some of the most compelling evidence of the existence of extraterrestrials. This is another military sighting of a UFO that's recently been declassified and released to the public. It was captured by a US Navy FA-18 Super Hornet which was patrolling off the coast of San Diego. The tracking system is a state-of-the-art Raytheon-made advanced targeting forward-look infrared sensor, which is capable of tracking most known forms of flying technology. The footage was taken in 2004 and forms part of what is known as the Nimitz incident, a series of reports made by the US Navy claiming they encountered a UFO 100 miles off the coast of San Diego. 6 US Navy pilots corroborated a sighting of the UFO. The first 3 pilots were rerouted from a routine combat exercise to investigate the strange sighting. Upon arrival, nothing particularly unusual was spotted both visually and on radar. That was until they noticed something strange in the water. One pilot described it as a turbulent oval shape surrounded by frothy white foam about the size of a Boeing 737. It looked as though the water was breaking over something sitting just below the surface. Seconds later, the pilot noticed a flying object hovering around 50 feet above the disturbance in the water. Two of the pilots, Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Jim Slate, described the object as tic-tac shaped, about 30 to 46 feet in length, with no windows, no wings, and no visible engine or exhaust plumes. The mysterious object proceeded to evade the Super Hornet's attacking formations. According to the pilots, it moved at tremendous speeds, dodging and strafing, flying impossible maneuvers. This declassified video footage substantiates the pilots' testimonies. Numerous agencies have studied this footage and have so far offered three possible explanations. The first is that it's possible the electro-optical sensors and radar, both on the Super Hornets and the nearby aircraft carrier USS Princeton, could have malfunctioned. The second explanation is that it could have been classified government technology that is simply not known to the rest of the military. The third and most compelling option is that the object was of an extraterrestrial nature, an alien craft built beyond human jurisdiction. Here's some fascinating UFO footage taken in March 2018. Kerry Farides filmed this remarkable clip while flying off the coast of Izmir, Turkey, headed for Athens. At around 4:30 PM, Kerry spotted a strange object moving above the clouds. It's hard to make out the object itself, but it has a peculiar black emission trailing behind it. At the beginning of the clip, the unidentified object begins to move bizarrely through the air. It seems to sweep from perpendicular to level with the plane. The movement is unlike any known aircraft on Earth. The UFO then flies through the air at high speed, leaving behind more of the strange black emission. When the clip was shared to social media, it quickly spread, raising suspicions of an alien invasion. Believers were quick to hail the footage as a genuine glimpse of an alien spacecraft. Some viewers, more jokingly, thought the object was Lord Voldemort looking for Harry. More level-headed commentators thought that perhaps it's just another plane taking off, and that both planes are turning in the air, giving the effect of a strange trajectory shift. Either way, it still makes for some amazing UFO footage, one that can't be definitively proven as real or fake. Before we get to the number one spot and take a look at one of the craziest pieces of UFO footage ever filmed, remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on channel notifications. That way you'll be up to date with all our latest awesome content. Many UFO enthusiasts consider this footage to be some of the most convincing evidence of the existence of extraterrestrials. Captured on June 12, 2008, a metallic disc-shaped object was seen hovering in the night sky over Kumburgaz, Turkey, about 58 kilometers west of Istanbul. Night worker Murat Yelsin Yalman was able to film the object, which he spotted hovering over the ocean. The footage shows a bright, bowl-shaped object sitting in the black of the night sky. The surface of the craft appears to react to the light of the moon, reflecting the light on one side. At one point during the clip, you can almost make out the outline of two beings sitting in the craft. They look to have round, bulbous heads and large black eyes. This is just one of many pieces of footage that claim to have captured a very similar looking craft flying in the exact same place. From 2007 to 2009, local residents were reporting a strange disc-like object floating in the sky. The sightings were sometimes accompanied by balls of orange and red light. The final piece of 2009 footage was witnessed by up to 9 people, including Roger Lear, a famed podiatric surgeon and ufologist, who had just attended a UFO conference in nearby Istanbul. Lear personally witnessed Yalman take the footage with his camera. He was interviewed numerous times about the incident before his death in 2014.
Well, that's the end of another episode. Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you're new to our channel, why not hit subscribe and turn on channel notifications? Because we do creepy content just like this each and every week. And that's it from me. I'll see you all next time. Pew!
Slap time.
10 creepy websites you have to see. From ordering freshly gargled milk to perusing satanic rituals, join us as we take a look at 10 creepy websites you have to visit. This website offers milk that has been gargled by rich white girls. White Power Milk claims that their milk becomes purified once rinsed in the mouths of their selection of what they call girls from the upper echelons of society. The gargling girls must be white, in peak physical condition, and from an elite pocket of society. The milk, which is extraordinarily expensive at $130 for just 2 ounces, can be purchased with a video of your chosen white girl gargling the very milk you've just ordered. The video is uploaded and sent to you via a private link. So not only is the concept deeply troubling and elitist, it's difficult to tell whether the site is for real. In their FAQ, the first question asks, is this site real? Do you really get the girls to gargle the milk you sell? And the answer is of course yes, but in their terms and conditions, one section says a portion of the information on this website has been fictionalized, so whether that can be read as the whole thing is a sick joke remains a mystery. This curious web destination is boggling to say the least. The landing page is a wash of nonsensical information. It looks like a collage of the internet circa 2001. However, the strangest part is that the website changes every time you visit. I must have refreshed around 5 or 6 times, and each time I saw a different mishmash of imagery, texts and symbols. No one particularly knows the meaning of the website, if indeed it has one at all. After researching this creepy website, I came by a thread on 4chan where someone had discovered another disturbing layer to the puzzle. If you follow a secret link embedded in the website, you can see what appears to be a live feed into someone's bedroom. The grainy and dark webcam footage is super unsettling. One has to wonder whether it's consensual. The first thing you'll notice about this creepy website is the angel fire goodness, the low quality banners, the eyeball searing contrasted coloured links and the basic text. However, internet nostalgia aside, at its core it's a rather in-depth website concerning Satanism and black magic. It tries to pose Satanism as a genuine form of spirituality, offering advice and guiding articles on how to relinquish your soul to the devil. Creepier still, there's a link to a Yahoo group that is actively recruiting young children into the practice of Satanism. This website offers a cuddling service for those in need of some human interaction. That's right, you can actually hire people to snuggle with. All you have to do is jump on this creepy website, browse the available women. I don't think men are available for cuddling for some reason, but then you choose whether you want them to come to your house or hotel, or you can even go to the snuggler's house. The website touts the therapeutic benefits of hugging, which can be beneficial on some levels, but the whole terminology of the website reeks of an escort agency. In-calls, out-calls, hourly rates, it all makes for a very uncomfortable concept. Firstly, it should be noted that this creepy website doesn't exist anymore, and it's probably for the better. Created back in 2003, Afterlife telegrams would charge $5 per word for a message to be delivered to those who have passed away. How is that even possible? Well, former owner of the website, Paul Kinsella, would recruit patients dying of terminal diseases and ask them to memorize his clients' telegrams so they could pass them on in the afterlife once they died. If you're a fan of the Beatles and open to the possibility of interdimensional time travel, then this odd website is sure to pique your interest. The owner of this website, known by his alias James Richards, claims to have come into possession of an unreleased Beatles album. On September 9, 2009, Richards alleges that he hit his head while walking his dog by a desolate road just west of Turlock, California. When he awoke, he was nursing a bandaged head inside a strange man's house. It's here that he was told he'd been taken to an alternate dimension. He said the man worked for a sort of multi-dimensional travel agency and was tasked with exploring unknown timelines in other universes. To cut a long story short, Richards claims to have taken a cassette that contains an unreleased album of the Beatles, who, in the alternate timeline, never broke up. If you're keen to have a listen, the album is uploaded to his blog. One major critique of the whole concept is that the album is just a mashup of solo work produced by individual members of the Beatles. Richards defends this point by saying that even though in the alternate universe the band stayed together, their future musical ideas would have been the same but manifested in a different form, i.e. their solo work from our reality became the future Beatles albums in the other reality. For a Beatles fan, this creepy website is a fascinating read, and it's well worth listening to the album one lazy afternoon. If nothing else, the mashup is pretty impressive. We'll chuck a link in the description box below. This This very mysterious website seems to be the beginnings of an application to some kind of forum. All there is a login button and an email address to apply for membership. It says you should already know what you need to apply to get into the website. Googling comes up with very little information. Some say it's a gateway to an underground hacking community. This anti-capital punishment website was created by artist and photographer Jonathan Camburis. It documents the last meals of a range of prisoners on death row, from first-time offenders to serial killers and the mentally ill. The landing page is a series of photos of prisoners and their requested last meals. It's a very unnerving and surreal experience browsing these photos. Observing the contents of someone's very last meal while staring at their mugshot really drives home the finality of capital punishment. This understated website is offering an incredibly creepy product, human leather. The goods are pitched at the most discernible of clientele, odd folk with very specific taste. There's a range of belts, shoes, wallets and other accessories made from 100% human skin. According to their FAQ, the leather is sourced from people who have bequeathed their skin prior to dying. They claim that it's not illegal, but with prices starting at $15,000 it's difficult to tell whether this website is a hoax or not. And I'm not exactly about to cough up that much money just to see if a real human ball bag wallet turns up at my doorstep. Creep levels are at maximum with this one. Majabon was a vlog-style YouTuber that started uploading videos back in 2006. She was best known for her staring videos, where she would just look doe-eyed into the camera for around 30 seconds. These videos became hugely popular, some racking up millions of views. However, despite her growing popularity, she inexplicably stopped uploading in 2015. And after some hefty googling, no one seems to know where she went. Now here's the creepy part. Majabon.com is a very unsettling website that hosts two videos that play on loop. They depict a man in a gas mask known as Frank writhing about on the floor. Disturbing imagery of dolls and bugs flicker on screen. Photos of Majabon are spliced in between these graphic scenes. Japanese phrases appear that translate roughly as "I want Majabon, wait to come back, and let's do it baby." The final link on the website takes you to a page that displays the words "I'm sorry." Ordinarily, I'd just dismiss a website like this as the work of an internet troll looking to frighten a few wayward visitors, but the fact that Majabon mysteriously stopped uploading videos over a year ago makes for a troubling conclusion. Bonus time! Hey, guess what? We have a brand new merch store. That's right, get your piglet mittens on a whole range of slapped ham goodness. We got tees and hoodies with all sorts of amazing designs. So plop on over, check out the store, links are in the description box below, or you can click the card above that just appeared then. Also, let us know what you think of the shop and all the designs in general over on Twitter or Facebook. We'd love to get your feedback.
Why you so creepy, internet?
As always, thanks heaps for watching. If you're new to the channel, hit that big old red subscribe button. If you enjoyed the video, slap a like on it. Remember to leave a comment down below, we love reading them. And this is the Slap Ham shining off.
How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Today we're talking about some really creepy photos caught on trail cameras. From an inquisitive alien to ghosts, monsters and sinister rituals. Join us as we take a look at 11 trail cam photos that can't be explained.
This startling image was captured by a hunter who had set up several trail cameras on his property. When he reviewed the photos, he couldn't believe his eyes. The camera appears to have captured a close-up image of some sort of creature that looks very much like an alien grey. It has a huge dome-shaped head, large black pupilless eyes, a tiny mouth and a flattened nose. Could this hunter have actually captured an inquisitive alien staring into the lens of his camera? If so, what was the creature doing on the property in the first place, and why is it so fascinated with the camera? In 2013, a trail cam set up in the mountains of southwestern Virginia captured this very strange photo. The image shows some sort of unidentified animal rummaging through the fallen debris. It has long, ape-like limbs, no visible tail, and is covered in dark, shaggy fur. When this photo first surfaced, many were quick to suggest that the mysterious creature could actually be a young Sasquatch foraging for food. Some thought it may have been a chimpanzee that had escaped from a local zoo, while others thought it resembled a malnourished bear. The owner of the trail camera, a man by the name of Roger Williams, told a local newspaper that the creature seemed to possess several human-like features. It appears that the right arm of the creature shows fingers as the animal grasps the base of the tree stump. It also has elongated feet similar to man's appendages. Its fur is matted on the back but thin on the arms and legs. The beast had experts drawing comparisons to this famous photo that was snapped in 2007. Bigfoot enthusiast Rick Jacobs managed to capture this striking image on a trail camera in the forests of northwest Pennsylvania. It too appears to be an ape-like creature rummaging through the undergrowth. When this photo surfaced, several Bigfoot researchers believed it to be evidence of a juvenile Sasquatch. As you can see, the beast captured in this photo bears a striking similarity to the one taken by Williams. What are these mysterious creatures? Could these images really be proof that Sasquatches are roaming the countryside? Or are they actually escaped chimpanzees or sickly bears? Or perhaps there's something else entirely? In 2012, these creepy trail cam photos surfaced, said to be taken in Lunenburg County, Virginia. It looks as though they've captured a zombie, possibly even two, stumbling through the thicket in the middle of the night. If you take a closer look at the second image, it appears that the creature closest to the camera has had flesh torn from its chest, exposing the rib cage underneath. The figure has glowing white eyes and looks as though it's screaming. Could this be a real zombie risen from the dead, out looking for human flesh to feast on? Or is it just a well-orchestrated prank? Either way, it makes for a very creepy photo. There's very little information about this photo other than it was taken in Big Spring, Texas. It paints a very disconcerting picture nonetheless. Whether it's the grainy quality of the image or the fact that it was captured at night, the little girl has a ghostly look about her. Then there's the startled buck. With its keen ability to sense danger, surely it would have heard the girl approaching long before she got this close. It's almost as if the little girl just appeared there without making a sound. If you look closely, the lower half of the girl also appears to be transparent. You can see the ground right through her dress. Has this trail camera actually captured a ghost wandering silently through the woods at night? This trail cam photo appears to have captured an old woman wandering through the woods alone in the middle of the night. The fact that the woman is wearing a long white gown has led some to speculate that she might have been a patient in a nearby hospital, perhaps wandering off and getting lost in the darkness. Others think it may even be a ghost or someone about to take part in some sort of sinister ritual. Whoever or whatever it is sure makes for a terrifying photo. This woodland trail camera appears to have captured a deer being chased by a flying squirrel. It would seem that the deer had stopped to eat some of the apples on the ground when it became startled and ran. But perhaps there's more to this photo. Could it be that both animals are actually running for their lives? Perhaps they're being chased by something else lurking in the darkness. These two very unsettling photos were captured by a trail cam in 2012. The camera was placed in a wooded area said to be at least 5 miles from the nearest house. The first image shows a mysterious figure kneeling among the trees. They have their head bowed towards the ground and hands clasped together. It looks as though they're praying. Minutes later, the camera captured a second photo. This time the figure is standing and it looks as though they're wearing some sort of long flowing robe. Who is this mysterious figure and why are they praying in the middle of the woods late at night? Could they be a member of a mysterious cult performing some kind of sinister ritual? Many also have speculated that the figure in these images may actually be a ghost, perhaps seen mourning a lost love, forced to wander the woods eternally. What do you think this trail camera has captured? Is this figure performing some sort of evil ceremony, or could it be the spirit of someone who died in the woods? These images first appeared on Reddit in 2013. User NoDog11 claimed they were actually taken by his friend's cousin's tree camera. The photos look to show a young child approaching the deer from the right. While many have been quick to dismiss these images as a hoax, experts have noted that the images don't appear to have been manipulated in any way. The genuine reaction of the deer also lends weight to the authenticity of the images, as it appears to spot the approaching figure and run from it. Many have suggested that the figure may not be a human child. The timestamp on the images indicate that they were taken shortly after 4 AM in the morning, so why would a human child be wandering through the woods alone at this hour? This has led to further speculation that the figure may actually be some sort of humanoid creature that is yet to be discovered. What do you think the figure could be? Human child, wandering ghost, or something else entirely? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. This very strange photo was taken by a trail camera in 2012. It appears to show a dinosaur stalking the countryside. However, there is very little information available about the photo. The creature seen in the image closely resembles a velociraptor, similar to the ones depicted in the original Jurassic Park films. It is now known that actual velociraptors were covered in feathers and were only about the size of a turkey. Without any further information on this photo, it's difficult to speculate any further. However, it's probably likely that it is a fake, maybe a well-constructed model or a clever Photoshop job. Nevertheless, it sure does make for a creepy photo. Even the slightest chance that an intelligent man-hunting dinosaur could be roaming the countryside is enough to make me want to never go camping ever again. This horrifying photo was recovered from a trail camera destroyed on a private property in Cleburne County, Alabama. The poster claimed that in the 2 weeks prior to the image being found, the property owner had lost 5 pet goats. The photo shows the muscular legs of an unidentified creature. It has long, pointy claws and reddish skin covered in thin, light-coloured hair. The 2 visible feet each have 4 pronounced front toes, which is more akin to some kind of dog rather than a bear. Unfortunately, the head of the creature is invisible in the image, and this is believed to be the only one that was recovered from the destroyed camera. Could this creature seen in this photo be some sort of mutated dog, or could it be something else entirely? What do you think this trail camera has captured? Now, before we get on to the #1 spot and find out exactly what this thing is, remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on channel notifications, because we do videos just like this each and every week, and if you turn on channel notifications, you'll be notified about our freshest content. In 2013, a camera that was placed on a deer trail in North Carolina captured this unsettling image. It looks to show a ghost-like girl running through the woods. She is pale and has no definable facial features. Her feet are bare and her arms look long and gaunt. When this image first surfaced, many believed that the figure was indeed a ghost, while others suggested it could be a young girl running away from someone or something. Either way, it definitely makes for a very creepy photo, one that leaves you feeling more and more uneasy the longer you stare at it.
Well, there's another episode down. Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you really enjoyed this topic, why not check out our other creepy trail cam video? There's a link right there. Remember to slap that like button, subscribe if you're new, and that's it for me. I'll see you all next time.